Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the July 18th, 2024 meeting of the Mount Juliet Municipal and Regional Planning Commission meeting. Full house. Always enjoy seeing folks show up for our Planning Commission meeting. Some of them we have about 5 people here, so always good when we do get a full house. As a reminder, if you are here for a particular item, it comes to pass, and you do choose to exit the building, that you don't want to stay for the entirety of the meeting. Please be mindful and respectful as you do leave, so we can continue to conduct business. If you have a cell phone with you, please go ahead and stun that thing right now, so we don't hear those during meetings. It's just a general reminder. I'm going to get to a portion to where we will talk about when we take citizen comments. When we do get to the time where we take citizen comments, all citizen comments are given right over here at our podium. Everybody will have an ample opportunity to speak. But please come up. Don't wait till the last minute right there. Feel free and form a line across the wall over here, and just be mindful and respectful to everybody here that does wish to speak or be involved in tonight's meeting. So on behalf of my fellow commissioners, Planning Commission staff, and everyone, we welcome you all here. So with that being said, we will get started. One of the things that I like to do as we begin our meeting, especially when we do have a full house, and for those that might be in attendance for the very first time, I like to speak on a quorum, and it also reflects to our votes. It says quorum is the presence of 5 members of the commission shall constitute a quorum for the transaction of business. The chairperson may at his or her discretion wait up to 30 minutes after the scheduled meeting for a quorum to be present. I did start about 10 minutes late, so I wish to thank you all for allowing that and being patient for us to start. In the event that a member is required to leave a meeting prior to adjournment and the departure causes a loss of quorum, no further official action may be taken until a quorum is restored other than an adjournment. The majority vote of those commissioners present, and in no case less than 4 affirmative votes, shall be required to decide any item of business requiring action by the commission. So once again, I'd like to read that as we begin. First item up tonight is to set our agenda. We do have one item that was added to our agenda tonight. That item is, and that was per our city recorder, Mrs. Luckett. It is a recommendation. It's going to be known as item 6A. It's going to be a recommendation item back to the Board of Commissioners. It reads as an ordinance to amend the zoning ordinance of the city of Mount Juliet, Tennessee by repealing section 14-109.2 through 14-10.9.4C. It is to comply with TCA 6-5-102, 6-51-04, and 13-7203 regarding the notification process for annexations. I have a feeling that a lot of folks are here because of potential annexation, so you'll get to learn a little bit of the legalities that go through that. And what we are doing with that is our city attorney will speak to it when it comes up, but that is to get us in compliance with the new state law that was passed. That being said, any additions, subtractions to the agenda? Seeing none, we'll set the agenda as stated. I do want to make mention that all other items on the agenda do remain tonight, and they just fall down in number from that point back. Next item up on our agenda tonight will be our staff reports. I'm going to begin with our city planner, Mr. John Bachman.
Thank you. I just talked with Jill about this before this. We don't have anything right now to add, just business as usual.
Very well. Jill, anything you wish to add?
No, sir.
Very well. Go to Public Works, and Shane, welcome back.
It's good to be back.
Yes,
Feels
sir.
like it's been a minute. Just want to give a shout out to our elected body, Commissioner Hefner, Assault Commissioner Justice, Commissioner Mullally, Vice Mayor Trevette, Mayor Manus, for passing the budget. It gives us the tools to be able to do our jobs. And as long as I've been here, which has basically been in line with the board that's been in place for the last 4 years, they've been very generous and very proactive in progressing the city towards the future. So I just want to thank them, and that concludes my staff report for tonight. It's good to be back.
Very well. Thank you. Next item up on our agenda will be our citizen comments. At this time, we will take citizen comments. Public is welcome and encouraged to make public comment about any item that is on our agenda tonight. There will be two opportunities for you to make comments. You may speak now, or you may speak when the item is presented to the Planning Commission. We do ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. So for those that are new, I get asked this one fairly often. Remember, it's speak now regarding the item, or speak when we're actually hearing that item. And so if you speak now and then the item comes up, it's not a double opportunity. So it's either or out there. So just want to make sure we explain that. Obviously, we got a lot of people in the room. So we do keep a little timer up here on that 3 minutes as you're speaking. If you see me kind of raise my hand and wave at you, that means that you're 2 minutes in. You got 1 minute. So please try to summarize your comments like that. Always makes me feel bad when I have to gavel you to let you know that your 3 minutes is up. So let me only use the gavel to begin our meeting and adjourn our meeting. So with that being said, anyone that wishes to make comments, welcome and encouraged to do so. Come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record.
My name is Charles G. Mallory. I live at 131 Lane Drive off of Rutland Road. I'm here about this deal where they're planning on building 99 houses down the street from us. The red light is slow enough now trying to get off Rutland Road onto South Mount Juliet Road. When the schools are out, the Christian school there, it's a big mess, and it's just a mess all the time. They're talking about building 99 houses down the road from me about a half a mile or 3/4 of a mile. And I found out, and I've learned, that when they built Belinda City, the sewer system goes from Belinda City under I-40, crosses over Rutland Road to this property where these people are trying to buy and build 99 houses, and goes all the way up to Jones Brothers. And, you know, we got a sewage plant right there that the city operates, and we pay sewage bills on every month. Is that sewage place going to be strong enough to hold 100 more houses? And if not, who the heck's going to pay for that new building and all that kind of thing? Just a thought. But right around the corner from me on Rutland Road is 2 senior living facilities. One is Rutland Senior and the other one is Carrick Glen Senior. And when they build this thing, you go down Rutland Road, if you folks have never been there, and it makes a perfect turn and a turn back. And it's like turning your arm like this, you know. They're going to have to, it's going to be hard for big trucks with bulldozers and everything else on them to make that sharp curve to get around there. It's impossible for 2 cars to pass each other in that curve right now. So there's talking about, somebody said they're going to straighten out the curve. Well, I'd like, if they straighten out the curve, since they're going to be going across the creek down there, I'd like for them to at least put in, okay, 1 5-foot pipe under the road to help flooding. Okay. And that's about it for me. Oh, one other thing. The road is 2 lanes. If they're going to put 100 houses down through there, the dang road needs to be 4 lanes, because they're going to be backed up a half a mile in each direction trying to get through the red light onto Mount Juliet Road. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any additional citizen comments at this time? And if anyone wants to speak after this lady
Hi.
right here, please come up and get into a line so we don't have the pauses between.
My name is Lynn Bear, and I live in Verona Hills, and you're building Silver Springs, building it out phase 8 through 13. That comes up, and Anyway, my point is that I want to get out is please stop building all these planned unit developments before you have the road to carry all the extra vehicles. Okay, you figure one house or one apartment, everybody might have 2 cars. Stop building for a while. Give it a break and make the roads accommodate all this new housing. Okay, thank you so much. That's all I have to say for today.
Thank you. Please.
Good evening.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I'm just wanting to
Name-
mention.
real quick. Name and address for the record for me.
Oh, sure. I'm Colleen Richards, and address is 145 North Green Hill Road. I'm concerned about I don't know if there's plans to make some kind of a barrier, sound barrier. It's my understanding that there's going to be a gas station put up at the corner where Lebanon Road and North Green Hill Road is, as well as a Chick-fil-A. I'm concerned that there's, no privacy type, or if there is going to be a privacy fence or some kind of earth berm or some kind of, landscape for the area, for the residents. My late husband lived there for 39 years. And he passed away in May. But I am concerned about it as far as privacy, sound barrier, crime deterrent, future property values, as well as the aesthetics of the residential area.
Ms. Richards,
Yes.
real quick right here. I hate to interrupt you, but we only take comments about anything on our agenda, and there's nothing on our agenda in regards to that development here tonight. But I want to say this, that welcome to come see Miss Johnson or Mr. Boffman or Shane over in Public Works as well.
Okay.
And they can fill you in regards to that development that you're referring to right there
Okay.
and help explain the buffers or everything that's going to go on with that, including show you a copy of kind of the plan so that you can get a good feel for
Yeah.
what is going to go right there at that corner and
Right.
hopefully begin to address some of your concerns. But yeah, if you want to reach out to staff and maybe set an appointment to come by,
Okay.
I feel confident that they'd be glad to kind of talk with you through that.
Okay. Thank you. I saw there was going to be something on 6B. I thought that was maybe the area, but maybe I
It's
was
actually
confused.
the other South Green Hill. It's
Oh.
a mass grading plan there next to there was a development approved that fronts Lebanon Road at South Green Hill. Am I wrong? Sorry.
About his mass grading for that site.
Oh, mass grading for that site. Sorry, my
Yes.
bad. So
Yes.
please continue to speak. That
Okay.
is on our agenda.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm just concerned, right now there is cat a corner to our property. There is the fire hall and there is the school behind there. There is no barrier at all for that either. And so, there's several homes. Like I said, my late husband, lived for 39 years. And so that's just something I'm concerned about. If maybe I could get some, additional information about that, and that would be great.
Yes, ma'am. And still, likewise, the comment still stands on that so that you can see that plan and get an idea for what will be there after the mass grading, because what they've requested is to go in and begin to clear the land and grade the land.
Right.
But if you want to see what the finished product and everything would be leading up to that,
Yes.
would encourage you to reach out and come see the plan.
Okay. Okay. Great.
Thank you. Any additional citizen comments at this time? Wonderful. With that being said, we'll move on with our agenda tonight. Our next item up on our agenda will be our minutes approval. It's known as item 5A, it's to review the minutes from the June 20th, 2024 Planning Commission meeting. Any amendments, adjustments, typos, errors? Very good. With that being said, I'm looking for a motion in regards to that item on our agenda. A motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. Against? Abstentions? So approved. Next item up on our agenda falls underneath item 6. These are our consent agenda items. We'll begin with item 6A, which is a recommendation item back to the Board of Commissioners. It's an ordinance to amend the zoning ordinance of the city of Mount Juliet, Tennessee by repealing section 14-109.2 through 14-10.9.4C to comply with TCA 6-5-102, 6-5-1-04, and 13-7-203 regarding the notification process for annexations. Item 6B, review the mass grading plan for Green Hill Road Commercial located on the northwest corner of North Green Hill Road and Lebanon Road. Item 6C, review the mass grading plan for New Tribe Church located at 260 Clemens Road. Item 6D, review the site plan for Waffle House located at 12085 Lebanon Road. Mr. Bachman.
Staff recommends approval of all these with any of the conditions in the staff report. I'll leave it to Shane if he's got anything else to add, but we don't. Just recommend approval with the conditions. Thank you.
Very well. Thank you. Shane, anything from Public Works?
We have no comment on item 6A and item 6B, 6C, 6D. We recommend approval with our comments. Thank you.
Very well. I spoke to City Attorney Mr. Michaels just because the item 6A was brought to us just as we began our meeting, so hard to read an ordinance from its entirety so that the Planning Commission knows what they're voting for. So, Mr. Michaels, would you care to fill us in a little bit on that ordinance change that we're looking at on the consent agenda?
Yeah, this is for the purpose of complying with state laws that went into effect a month or two ago. They require more notice than what the zoning code currently requires, specifically for annexations. There's a 21-day notice requirement now that has to go out to the landowner, the adjacent landowner, anyone who lives within 200 feet, the county mayor, and the county commissioner. So this is just to get rid of what's currently in place and instead reference the state laws for notice.
Very well. Please.
I had asked staff about this, of what the regulations were for the sign size. Is there any teeth in there requiring that they put those signs out? What happens if they don't comply and put a sign out?
Well, there's nothing in there about if they don't put the sign out, but they've got to be at least 3 by 2 and at least 5 feet off the ground. What my recollection is.
Okay. I think I would just encourage us to look and see if maybe down the road we can put some type of measure in there to require them to do it, because I think we've all been around. We know there's a reason that the staff goes beyond their way to put those signs out ourselves. So just maybe for future reference.
Very well. Commissioner Hefner, please.
Since this was passed by the state 2 months ago, does anything on the agenda tonight need to be reconsidered, given the state passed this 2 months ago? I see a number of rezones and annexations on here.
Most of the requirements are going to be for before the BOC meeting. There is one relating to the plan of services and that notice being required prior to the Planning Commission meeting. Put it this way, the land use map, the land use plan amendments themselves don't have any of the separate notice requirements. So at the very least, those could be heard.
So which item specifically are we talking about that needs to be?
The plan of services would be the one that would have to be delayed.
7D? We've got two,
Yeah,
7D,
two.
7G.
Yeah, but those would be the only ones that would be technically deficient.
Would it be your recommendation, Mr. Michaels, that when those items present themselves, that the Planning Commission defer them to get us in compliance with notification?
Yeah, because you can still proceed with the other items and consider the substantive materials. So,
Okay. Good question. Thank you. Any further questions, comments from the commission at this time?
I'm going to request that we pull 6B off consent.
just to discuss, or?
It's just going to change my vote. I'm not going to support the whole consent agenda.
Let me ask Mr. Michaels, at this point in time, since we've set the agenda, can that be deferred or brought back and heard separately?
6B. I think if he's gonna, yeah, I think you can go ahead and do that.
Don't need a motion for that, or
Make a motion.
we need a motion and
Yeah.
a second. So you need a motion and a
Yeah.
second for that.
I'll make a motion to pull 6B off consent and be heard separately.
A second on the motion?
I'll second.
It's a motion and a second to remove 6B from the consent and move it to the next item to be heard after that. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
Against? Abstentions? It will be, that is approved. We'll hear item 6B will be removed from our consent agenda and be heard following or prior to item 7A. So again, we are hearing, so when we get to the public comments portion of this, it will be the item 6A, 6C, and 6D will be heard underneath consent. 6B will be moved as an individual item back to the back or prior to hearing item 7A. With that being said, I got two comments I want to make sure that that I include in here, I guess, for staff. One of them in regards to item 6C on the Waffle House. I'd like to see the addition of crosswalks and maybe small sidewalks on the islands. You've got that plan sort of creates a reverse L on the parking and a short drive as you come in off of Lebanon Road into that site. Just the addition of some painted crosswalks through that section so that somebody comes in a little bit fast, that we've got some identification and a safer way to get the parking over to the building. The other one is back towards item 6C. And on 6C, one of the things that I read in there that this is that we're going to give them, that we're voting for the mass grading plan, but it's known as a concept plan on that item. Just that the mass grading will be in compliance to what we're going to see on the PMDP on that right there, and that all silt fence or erosion control measures are not within the buffer, because it looks like in looking at that proposed plan that all of their erosion control measures were on the property border and not at, which puts it into the buffers. So you're going to hear me say that same comment for the Green Hill, which I'll make when it rises, but just making sure that the erosion, because when you install your erosion control measures, you can also damage the buffer, and we're trying to preserve as many of those as possible. Please.
You talking about the landscape buffers?
Yes.
Those are temporary in nature and go away when the project's complete.
Well, one of them, let's see, hang on here. A new tribe. Maybe there's more on the Green Hill. Pull it back up. I just don't want to see some of the natural vegetation and the buffers get done so that we get silt fence, erosion control measures in there when we're trying to preserve the buffers is basically what I was trying to make sure that we did. Okay.
We can notate that on any mass gradings.
Yeah.
General comment.
And that is, and is that right? This is a concept plan for Tribe Church, correct?
It's a mass grade. I believe that they're looking to get the property, pad level, and then they're in a fundraising effort to build their church.
And then they're going to bring it to a PMDP for us at some point, or this
believe
hasn't been
it's
approved as, I don't recall seeing it. I might
So-
have been absent.
It's all right.
Please, please.
So it's a church on a residential lot. They've gone before the Board of Zoning Appeals and gotten their conditional use permit. It's a conditional use. I don't believe have they submitted a site plan? I can't remember. I don't think they have yet. And this is not a concept. They just want to start the mass grading. So
Okay.
it's just the grading plan we're looking at here.
And I think that we have potentially how they're going to position the building and whatnot here.
Yes.
And so they've denoted where they're going to have their potential buffers and
Yes.
whatnot. Just want to make sure, I have no problem with getting started, but want to make sure that they don't install these erosion control measures in areas that this body may choose to protect as a buffer because of exactly what you said, going in a residential like that.
Yes.
Yep.
Noted.
Any further questions or comments? Seeing none at this time, would like to ask for citizen comments. Anyone wishing to make citizen comments on any of these items on our consent agenda, are welcome and encouraged to do so. Please come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record. See no citizen comments at this time. Looking for a motion in regards to the items on our consent agenda. It's a motion? Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. Against? Abstentions? So approved. And so positively recommended as well. Next item up on our agenda will be item 6B. This is to review the mass grading plan for Green Hill Road Commercial located on the northwest corner of Green Hill Road and Lebanon Road. Mr. Boffman,
Have anything on this?
very well. Shane?
The hydraulic determination that was required as part of the PMDP PUD conditions of approval was incomplete to ensure that if you decide to vote for them to proceed with mass grading, that needs to be fully completed along the frontage of Lebanon Road. And a general note was added to ensure that they are aware of any of the utilities on site and that grading activities do not conflict or damage any utilities, primarily a water main and a force main on site. Other than that, we do recommend approval on this project.
Very well. Thank you. Please.
Yeah, I really appreciate the commission for entertaining and getting this off the consent agenda. This is just a project I haven't supported from the beginning. I think it's got too much traffic in one certain area, being adjacent to a high school in the existing community. I wasn't for it at the beginning, and I'm just going to stay consistent with that, and I'll be voting against this tonight.
Further questions, comments from the commission? That being said, we'll call for citizen comments in regards to this item on the agenda. Anyone wishing to make comment is welcome and encouraged to do so. Please come to the microphone and state your name and address for the record. Seeing no citizen comments at this time, I'd like to ask for a motion in regards to this item on our agenda. It's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. Against? Abstentions? So approved. Next item up on our agenda is a recommendation item back to the Board of Commissioners. It is to review the land use plan amendment from neighborhood commercial and parks and greenways to low density residential for 4470 Old Lebanon Dirt Road. Jill.
Thank you. This submittal came into us on behalf of Miss Beverly Heatherly. The property had previously been utilized as a office space along with the Arts Alliance of Wilson County. They are now wanting to utilize it just strictly for her residents alone. So that is why they have submitted for not only a land use amendment, but also a rezone. The current property is 7.4 acres. Houses a single family home with a shed, a detached carport, and a detached garage. The current zoning is office professional and RS40, so it does have that low density residential that is applicable to the home sitting there. The requested zoning is just for single family low density residential. There is a land use amendment requested because it currently shows the land use designation is office professional and parks and greenways. The parks and greenways portion is due to the floodplain in the area. So therefore it's usually not suitable for building. So that's why you'll see that designation in a lot of areas. The requested land use that they're wanting is just strictly low density residential for the entire lot. To be consistent, the city's land use plan does not support the low density residential. It does support the parks and greenways and thoroughfare commercial. But at this time, we as staff have to stay consistent. So we don't support the land use amendment. However, should the planning commission decide to grant the land use, we do support the zoning to the rezone of the low density residential in RS40.
Very well. Anything from Public Works?
We have no comment.
Very well. Questions or comments from the commission?
Keep it low density for her own private use.
Yes,
Yeah, I
ma'am.
think they plan to occupy it as their personal residence.
Okay.
Please.
This is considered a downzoning, correct?
Yes, sir. It
Yeah,
is.
so typically we see the opposite. We see people coming residential and they want to rezone to commercial because the value on commercial property is much higher than residential.
You're
So
exactly right. You're
so this is
exactly
actually a downzoning.
right. Yes, sir.
So
Is this?
It's also got a lot of single-family residential around it. It's like it's the
Correct.
last commercial lot as you go down the road. So if you keep going west, it's
It-
single-family.
yeah, and it's going to be right next to a fire station.
And that, yeah.
Yes, sir.
And it's got floodplain and floodway on it, so.
And hence there lies my question on this one, because it does lie right next to where we're about to put a fire hall over there. I guess, is it in the city's best interest too, for this
Yes, sir.
down zone?
Yes, sir. I would agree.
And not just giving them a variance to allow them to use it as a residential
Correct.
versus the complete down zone. Very well. Do we have any representation for this one tonight? Very well. We don't. This time we'll call for citizen comments. Any citizen wishing to make comment in regards to this item on our agenda is welcome, encouraged to do so. Please come to the microphone, name and address for the record. Seeing no citizen comments this time, I'd like to ask for a recommendation in regards to this item on our agenda.
Motion for positive recommendation.
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. Against? Abstentions? It is a positive recommendation. All right. Next item up on our agenda is item 7B, which is a recommendation item back to the Board of Commissioners. It is to review the rezone request from OPS to RS40 for 4470 Old Lebanon Dirt Road. Jill, is this you again?
It's the reason, right? 4470, it's the reason.
Oh,
This is the
sorry.
rezone.
Yes, that is the rezone for the
Same problem.
for the same thing. Yes, sir. They're wanting to rezone from the OPS down to RS40. So it is going to the low density residential.
Questions or comments from the commission? This time, I'd like to call for citizen comments in regards to this item on the agenda. Seeing no citizen comments at this time, I'd like to ask for a recommendation in regards to this item on our agenda.
Motion, positive recommendation.
It's a motion. A second by Commissioner Rast. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye.
Aye.
Against? Abstentions? That is a positive recommendation. Next item up on our agenda is also a recommendation item back to the Board of Commissioners. It is item 7C, and it's to review the land use plan amendment from mixed use to high-density residential for the 782 Northwest Rutland Road subdivision located at 782, 870, and 908 Northwest Rutland Road. Ms. Johnson or John?
Okay, so this, the land use request for this is the big one tonight. This is a 99 age restricted 55 plus. It's on the south side of Northwest Rutland. First step here is the land use amendment because it's currently in the county zoned R1. And our land use plan calls for a mixed use, and it's got parks and greenways on it again, stream area. So the land use amendment is from mixed use, parks and greenway. They're asking for high density residential for this because it is 2.5 units an acre, which kicks them into high density and an RS15 base zoning. But this, for the land use, because the land use map does state mixed use, parks and greenway, not high density residential, kind of like the last one, staff is going to go with the land use plan and Not necessarily recommend approval of the land use plan. But that's I guess the explanation for it, the history behind it, or it's an RS 15 base zoning, so they need the high density land use plan amendment for that.
Very well.
And the land use plan does not support it. So.
Since this is the land use plan, Shane, does Public Works have anything
No,
this
sir.
time? Very well. Questions or comments from the commission at this time? Do want to, as we open up that for the commissioners, do want to make one note real quick here, which will, should it proceed forward, it would carry forward for all of them. All of the commissioners tonight have been presented by presented copies. So you guys can see, there you go. I got one too. Wanted to make note for public record that we were presented copies of your petition, your signed petition, very well presented. Addresses, names, clearly written and clearly spelled out. And so just wanted to let you all know that not only can we see you, but we can hear you as we have read the information that's been provided to us here at the commission, and wanted to make sure that you all noted that it has been presented to us. We have had an opportunity to read it and see it as well. So thank you all for the time and the effort put into that. So we're grateful for that. With that point being said, any questions, comments from the commission in regards to the land use amendment? Not yet. Please, Commissioner Heffer.
Okay. I think most people in here know how I feel about this. A lot of density, a lot of housing on a very dangerous road. I think if you've been following me at all for the last 3 years, I've been sitting up here, you know that public safety is number one concern of mine. And when you start cramming a lot of houses on a already extremely dangerous road, that's just going to compound the effect. So I know we're voting on the land use amendment. I'm not going to be supporting land use amendment on this, and we'll be voting against the project in general. So I think public safety number one should be on the top of minds for this. That road, if you've ever driven down it, you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about. I think in the long term, I think when Stonegate eventually, and at some point, I believe Stonegate will develop. Don't know when that is. Could be 5, 10, 15 years, but I think that probably would be the time for the landowners to consider a mass project to incorporate whatever development that's going to take place there. Again, I have no insight or knowledge as to when that is going to happen, but I think if something like this were to come back, it would be in conjunction or in cooperation with Stonegate if that ever does get redeveloped. So again, I'm not in favor of the land use plan or this project in general, given the public safety concerns that I have. So.
Mr. Book?
Yeah, a couple things. One, I really don't like personally any kind of any age restrictive housing. I just don't like it. I'll be honest. I sell real estate. I get it. Very high turnover. Also, we're looking at high residential, and we're looking at high residential for 99 homes in a place that it's targeted for mixed use development, right? And mixed use development will have higher density. But I will say this for multiple reasons. One, I don't like the age restricted housing. Two, I don't like the where it is in conjunction to the public safety. But what I will say this to they're all residents and everybody in general that we're voting on a land use amendment, right? So right now we're all seeing that it's all slated for mixed use for the most part. So I will say, and this is just for any project, they're looking to change it to high density residential with 100 houses. And when we start messing around with Stonegate, you're looking at mixed use development of whatever's going to come with it. Residential, high density residential, AKA apartments, multifamily, townhouses, and commercial, right? So just know that, your voice, everybody's voice is going to be heard, obviously, but just also know that at some point in this city and any other city, somebody's going to buy something, they're going to build something, okay? So just know that you have a choice as a resident of picking your poison sometimes. Just be careful that in the next, this, like I said, this is not directed at this project, but just in general. Something's coming. Sometimes you got to pick what you want versus what you don't want. I'm not saying this is the time to do that, but this is a mixed use, it's designated for mixed use. And if it was a mixed use development with 500 apartments, you'd get my vote. Yes, probably. Right. But not today.
Further questions or comments from the commissioner? Commissioner George?
I think one thing that I found interesting about this project, and I agree with my fellow commissioners, I think 55 and up communities they just aggravate me. I don't think we should be approving any type of housing in the city of Mount Juliet that's just one specific class of people. That's the first concern I've got. The second concern I've got is the traffic on Rutland Road. It's not a place that needs to accommodate 100 more homes. I drove out there yesterday for myself to see the S curve, and I don't even know if I'd call it an S curve. It's more of you've got to slow down and stop, especially when you get down to the bridge that goes over the creek. I was glad there wasn't another car coming because it's just enough for my car. But one thing that I want to mention too is every email that got sent to me, I tried to reply to and I read, and I know my fellow commissioners do that as well. But one thing I enjoyed is hearing the stories and the memories that were shared about your time living on Rutland Road and some of the things you saw yourself. We all live in different parts of the city. We all get the opportunity to have our own memories, but it's really nice to be able to see a project and see a group of people come together and share their story and give us insight that we may not have. But there's really just not anything I like about this, so I will also be voting no on this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please. Drove by today to check out the situation because I've been here a while myself in the community, and it did not go with what is in the surrounding area. I mean, it's just like a horseshoe of homes around this one particular little area, and the ingress and egress did not seem to be it was a concern, I'll say, as well for safety issues. So I don't see 99 homes. If we had something that was more conducive to a few homes in that area and these people wanted to sell and develop just a few nice homes, I don't know what that would be, RS40, perhaps. That might be a little better I think that's like 1.5 unit homes per acre or something like that. Is that correct? RS40, who knows the RS40?
Density,
Pardon me?
the
The
density.
units, number
yeah.
of units per
RS40, it's a
acre.
1.1.
1.1. See, so that would be a little more to my liking if we were to do anything with that. It would make a little more sense because those homes that are out there are on very large lots for the most part, and it just did not seem in keeping with the what is already present in the area there for the families who have been there for a while too. So I'm concerned about it.
Please.
I'll echo what Commissioner Armistead said. I too rode out there today. I've been in that area, but really went with a critical eye. And first of all, I want to say you all have some beautiful homes and land. And I would say you are a very small, rare percentage here in Mount Juliet that have those large lots. And it's just absolutely beautiful. And I would agree. I won't support it as well because for a couple of different reasons. I'll go back, and some of the commissioners heard me say this, to 2020 when we had a tornado come through and you had some areas that there was one egress in and out of an area. If something happens, it's a safety thing for me. And there is nowhere for the other roads to go. And I'm for you guys keeping your little hamlet the way it is and not putting a million more cars on your 2-lane road that's already dangerous.
I want to say one thing real quick. One of the things that, been here a long time, on planning commission, that is, and this is, your petition. One of the things I ask when you get a lot of people in that we say, hey, we don't want something, is provide us facts, provide a basis in which you object to something. Want to say that the information been presented to us very well organized, factual in nature. Somebody did some homework and some research, so very well presented in that nature. So hats off to whoever took the time to do something like this. Second thing that I want to say there, because Commissioner George mentioned, I believe Mr. Mallory here in the front row mentioned it right here. I would encourage you guys to also reach out to your county commissioner and then therefore to the road commission. You are probably on this end of the county, the only kind of quasi big road that I'd be aware of at this point in time with a one-way bridge that's impassable with a two-way car. Find a way to get that on the road commission's radar. You're not in the city of Mount Juliet, so therefore there's not much that we can do about it. It does lie within our growth boundary, but I believe it's a county road if I am correct. And it is also my understanding that I believe we're a month or two removed from a young driver taking his eyes off the road and putting his Jeep in that ditch upside down right at that bridge. So I would encourage you guys to take the same effort that you're bringing forth to us tonight. Reach out to your county commissioner, reach out to your road commission, director of the Wilson County Road Commission, and take your same effort and combined efforts. Obviously, you can organize. Try to get that one-lane bridge remedy. At some point, it needs to. I'm a lifer here and grew up in Belinda City. My best friend's family lives back in there, so I am up and down your road at least once a week, if not multiple times a week. And that bridge right there, fortunately enough, everybody knows how to navigate it. So you kind of look and whoever's kind of there first or blinks lights or whatever else, you find ways to cross it. But I would say that you're probably one of the remaining one-way bridges that I know of on this end of our county. There's a bunch, obviously, in the more rural areas, but we've kind of outgrown the rural area a little bit in Mount Juliet, as crazy as that is. That would be my final comment. Commissioner Bullock, please.
Apologize if anybody has sent me an email to that city email because I did not get it until today. All right, I just got my city email get up. So if I didn't reply back, I apologize. That's it.
Yeah, reciprocate. Yeah. Yeah.
I got it now.
All right,
Well,
Commissioner Rash.
somewhat.
Figure while we're all talking, I might as well add my 2 cents. I kind of see things as a little bit black and white here. Commissioner Bullock pointed something out, and hopefully it didn't miss. They're looking to put 99 homes here, 200 people, give or take. Under mixed use, they could put in apartment complexes. They can put all kinds of super high density, which would be even more than what is proposed here today. I'm going to vote against it because we have a good basis for that. They're wanting to put high density residential in an area that just is not. It just doesn't meet it. And that's just the way I see it. I've argued both sides of the coin before, but I don't see any reason to approve this.
Wilson? It is current zoning is R1. Yes, sir.
So, yeah, I just want to add something to that. Yeah, I mean, we're talking about this high density. I mean, that would require a land use amendment. So typically, coming in from the county, it comes in as R1, which is the city's equivalent to residential 40, which is RS 40, residential 40,000, 40 short for 40,000, which is 1 acre. So if they were going to come back and not require a land use amendment, they would come back under RS 40, which are 1 acre lots, essentially. So, and I don't know how many acres this is, 20.
It's 39.
So at best, you're looking at 40 single family homes without a land use amendment. So.
Please.
And also on top of that, so this is currently in the county. They're wanting to annex it into the city. I just want to caution all of you that if, I think we as a planning commission have made up our minds, and the Board of Commissioners will have their say, and they are still able to go to the county and do this project. So this fight's not over. So tonight might be a good victory, but I just want to put it on your minds that they can also go to the county and do this as well. So just wanted to give that nugget of information.
So take this to the county if it goes
Yeah.
forward.
Please, Commissioner Hefner.
I appreciate your comments, but let me clarify that. It does fall within our urban growth boundaries and something that we did, I think it was last year or the year before, we amended our subdivision regulation. So any subdivision that's coming in through the county falls within the city of Mount Juliet's urban growth boundaries has to follow our subreg guidelines. And our subreg guidelines are 1 acre minimum, 1 acre lot. So
Specifically to match up with the R1 in the county.
that's correct. So not only do they have to be 1 acre lots, they have to put sidewalks in the right of way, which the county doesn't like having to manage and maintain sidewalks in their right of way. So anyways, I just want to just point that out, just more for education purposes, that it can go to the county, but they're going to come back to this board and they would have to satisfy our subregs, which are a minimum lot size 40,000.
Any further questions or comments? All right, we're going to open it up to citizen comments, but I kind of believe that for the most part, folks can maybe able to get a sense of how things may go up here. So I would ask that not dwell on 30, 45 minutes worth of comments. But with that being said, anyone wishing to make comment this time is welcome, encouraged to do so. Please come to the microphone and state your name and address for the record.
Chairman, members, we heard your comments very clearly. At the front end, my name's Tom White, an attorney with Toon Entrican and White, 36 Old Club Court in Nashville. Represent Dale McCullough, Miranda King, Pat O'Brien, and a number of other people whose names I couldn't recite here. So I'll start just by saying all those people that are here that are opposed to this, please raise your hand. Secondly, I'll make the comment at the front end, seeing exactly where the comments have been made, and without going on at length, I've urged the people that are here not to make unnecessary comments. I have found a lot of times it's interesting that people that live on a street that are very well informed can be very effective. And that's what I saw in this matter. I've never seen quite a neighborhood quite as organized as this, where probably 90% of the people were canvassed, signed a petition, did things in a manner that's very well organized, almost an embarrassment, frankly, how legal arguments are often made because we're given a script. These are people that know exactly how unsafe the road is, and I thought they did an incredible job. So I'll comment at the front. It's totally a discretionary call. There's no legal mandate here, but we'd appreciate you disapproving this. And frankly, we know that Commissioner Hefner has made his feelings very clear. He's on the BOC as well as this board. That's so important. My clients, we appreciate his time. So thank you for your courtesies. We'll keep the comments very short.
Thank you.
Hey, y'all.
Name and address for the record.
My name is Miranda King. I live at 830 Northwest Rutland Road. I'm here to request you say no to this land use amendment, the annexation, and the development at 782 Northwest Rutland Road. And it appears as though that you agree, which I appreciate. So I'll just say my piece and be done. Y'all have been provided a packet of documents, including excerpts from the road use study, concerns with the D+B Better Business Bureau reputation of the developer Ashton Woods, and the lawsuits filed against them for substandard building practice, many pertaining to water issues, and a petition of now 80 signatures of residents along Northwest Rutland Road, all in opposition to this development. Currently, there are 98 single-family homes serviced on Northwest Rutland and its subsidiary roads, all of which have only one way in and out via the North Mount Juliet intersection. This proposed development of 99 homes would completely double the homes serviced by this already strained road, and it's entirely irresponsible development. The land use amendment proposed is in direct opposition to the city's future growth plan, as we've discussed, and we are not interested in a lesser of two evils conversation of, wouldn't you prefer this over the possibility of that? We are united in our concerns and are thankful for our neighbors who have dedicated decades to keeping this road and community intact. Second, the concern for emergency vehicle services, fire, EMT, police, is overwhelming with these proposed plans and high-density residential amendment. We currently already have a community of 98 single-family homes, in addition to already 2 retirement age-restricted communities, being Carrot Glen and Rutland Place, with only one access outlet to North Mount Juliet Road. Only one way in and out, period. The combination of our double S-curve, the existing natural gas pipeline at said S-curve, existing traffic from our community and the adjacent Mount Juliet Christian Academy, church, banks, as well as the narrow 17-foot wide bridge over Stoner Creek, makes existing emergency vehicle traffic very difficult. By allowing for this high-density land use amendment to proceed and this development to be built, you would be adding an additional 99 homes to this road, again, entirely doubling our existing property services, and the community being proposed is a retirement community, which we are fully aware statistically has more frequent emergency vehicle services required. That's irresponsible and dangerous development. We all understand that growth is inevitable. And we also respect the rights of our neighbors to sell their properties to a qualified and a responsible buyer. But we must demand that they meet the threshold of both responsible development and are not approved only for the betterment of property tax revenue while being to the detriment of our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
How do I follow that?
Name and
Okay.
address first.
I'm sorry. I'm getting there. Patricia O'Brien, 668 Northwest Rutland Road for 62 years. When I moved here, the interstate was dirt. Rutland Road was a one-lane gravel driveway. Everyone had a water system that was from a well. I'm getting nervous. And everyone had like a septic system, thing like that. And so basically, everyone, and also the interesting thing, we had a telephone line where everyone was on it. You could pick it up and everybody else heard you talking. This was really interesting. Okay, get down to the nitty gritty. I live on the west side of this property. I have right at 14 acres. I'm the one sitting between Stonegate and their property. Guess what? Guess whose property they really want? Well, it's mine, and I've been approached by it. I've made an offer, a very good offer, twice. I have refused it. I've been here this long, since I was 19 years old. I'm 81 years old and still going. And I expect to stay here for as long as I possibly can go. And basically, this is hard. These folks are my friends as well. I really hate this. I mean, they've been my friends for a long time. And this is hard. I'm not against them, but this is a ridiculous thing to try to put in 99 homes. It's ridiculous. And I'm the one that sits on the curb, and I'm the one that sees everything and goes out and picks people up or calls the police for people to come in or ambulances, because it happens right in front of my house constantly. And I cannot, there's a sign right at the end of Carrick Glen that I think it's it, and it says no big rigs past this line. And the reason is pretty well they can't get around those curbs. And if they try, when they come up to my place, the front wheels of the cab is going to be down in the ditch to try to get around. And I see this all the time today, and everybody knows this, that has been on this road. And I'm sorry to oppose I don't oppose the people. They have a right to sell, but not to put this project on. And I would also like the fire marshal or the fire chief, your fire chief, to take a look at some of this. My husband was a fire marshal in Lebanon for many years. Some of you know this. I learned a lot from that. I see some issues with this project as it sits that could be detrimental to fire protection. One, they have a long way to get off of the road to the first homes. And the roads are curvy and a little bit tight. And if you get something like that going on, it would be added to. And yes, it is not an S curve. It's more like a Z curve. And it can't change. You can't do anything on like where the pipelines are. And I've talked to everybody. I talked to road commission people, and they said, well, maybe they can be moved. I said, tell me how you move 3 36-inch lines that go from Ohio to the Gulf. Tell me how you're going to move those. And then he understood that you could not do that. And they've come in and improved, all of the things, the pipelines and everything to Mount Juliet Road a few years back. Put some pretty good sized lines in on the north side of that all the way through. And this is kind of it. And I'm sorry to go against my neighbors. I love my neighbors. They're good people. Everybody down here, I wave at people all the time. They can all tell you that. I'm out there waving at people when they go by. I like my neighbors. I don't want to cause problems, but also this is not a right project for our road. Please, please know that. And I hope that everyone understands that. That's kind of it.
Thank you.
I could say more, but I better not.
Thank you.
Thank you.
was rude. That was very rude.
You gotta hear both sides.
That was threatening.
That is.
That was threatening. Good
Name and
evening. I'm Debbie Smith, and I'm one of the sellers. I'm at 908 Northwest Rutland Road. No one likes change, but change is a fact. The difference is what you make it. In 1947, my dad came from World War II minus a leg and purchased land on Route 3 Rutland Road. He named it Greenview Farm. He lived on that farm with his wife of 58 years till his death. My mother asked me one day what I would do with the big house once they were gone, to which I replied, maybe we will open a senior daycare. I have had opportunity to care for seniors the last 4 years. It has been an eye-opening experience and a huge learning opportunity in the world of 55 and up. And I just entered my golden years. What I've learned about them, they're owners, not renters, and they like to keep it that way. They're quiet, not loud and obnoxious. They are respectful. They love company. They like to get out and walk, especially their dogs. And they enjoy community. They take care of one another. They are responsible and mature. And most of them own one car. This evening, you've heard neighborhood concerns about change. My family has survived all the growing pains since 1947, and my brother since 1948. So just so you come to live, or it's just so y'all could come to live on this road. We've seen road structure changes, 3 additional streets, water and gas lines, a gas substation, a washed out bridge that was wood, a polluted creek, sewer lines, lots of new houses, and the biggest one was I-40. Since 1972, Mount Juliet has worked hard to become a desired community. Seniors need to be cared for by providing safe neighborhoods near EMS services, hospitals, police, churches, and shopping. Even though my neighbors disagree, and all of you do, it's your right. This proposed community is the best idea for this property. I could tell my mother that this development takes care of seniors and brings value to this neighborhood. Like you, I think eventually apartments, y'all won't like that. I know the city already has a working knowledge with Ashton Woods and will oversee the quality of Greenview Farms. This is a quote that I'd like to share. Change can be scary, but you know what's scarier? Allowing fear to stop you from growing, evolving, and progressing. My vote is yes, and I hope you'll change your mind. Thank you for your time.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
And I love you too, Miss Pat.
Any additional citizen comments at this time? Thank you all. Thank you all. Voices heard all the way around and whatnot. Grateful for your presence. Grateful for everybody that took time to be here, took time to organize, took time to be involved. That's what we're about. So one of the reasons why we all love Mount Juliet, that is for sure. With that being said, I am looking for a recommendation in regards to this item on our agenda.
A motion for a negative recommendation.
We're doing the land use plan amendment only. That is, it's noted as a recommendation item on the agenda. So is this a vote or is this a recommendation item?
It's a vote.
Okay. So it's just incorrect on our agenda. Gotcha.
It doesn't.
No, it's a vote.
It is a vote?
No, is a vote.
It's a vote.
Yeah.
Well, a yes would be a positive recommendation, and no is a final no. So
The land use amendment could fail here on a vote of yes or no. Given a no, it's a majority. If it fails here, there's an opportunity for it to be appealed and sponsored by one of the Board of Commissioners and have it appealed and read at the Board of Commissioner meeting. So tonight on the land use is a vote.
That is correct.
I don't want to disagree with our
Yeah.
attorney. He gets paid
Oh, no,
a
no,
lot more
I'm
money than I do.
in full
Trust
agreement
me.
with you. It's a vote, unless if it's a yes, then it's just a recommendation.
Got it.
So let me, for record, prior to accepting your recommendation, let me reread this item then for our agenda tonight for its purposes, because it was presented as a recommendation item. So let me read the item in which that discussion has been held upon. It is item 7C. It is to review the land use plan amendment from mixed use to high density residential for the 782 Northwest Rutland Road subdivision located 782, 870, and 908 Northwest Rutland Road. That being said, that is a voting item that the commission is hearing at this point in time, and at which time I am requesting a motion in regards to this item on our agenda.
Make a motion to deny the land use.
Second.
That is a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. Against? Abstentions? That is a no. With that being said, as Commissioner Hefner did point out, so for everyone to follow, that there is an opportunity, should any one of your sitting Board of Commissioners within the city of Mount Juliet sponsor this particular item, it could move forward to the Board of Commissioners should that come about. So, but this body has said no to this item on our agenda. With that being said, move on to our next item up on our agenda. Next item on our agenda falls underneath item 7D. And that is to review the annexation and plan of services for the 782 Northwest Rutland Road subdivision located at 782, 870, and 908 Northwest Rutland Road. We still here? Yeah. Would it be, Mr. Michaels, would it be most appropriate for us to defer this item on our agenda? Or would representation care to defer this item on our agenda?
Well, for the plan of services, it definitely needs deferred. For the next one, it can be.
That is correct. So with that being said, this item here, to get in compliance with consent agenda item before, I will make a motion to defer this item on our agenda. Second. That's a motion and a second for deferral. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. Against? Abstentions? That item has been deferred. Please, Commissioner Hefner.
A question, since the land use failed,
Mhm.
Do we need to take it? I know we just voted on it, but does this even need to come back in 30 days? Or, yeah,
No, it doesn't have to come back. Somebody has to actually go about the public notice and, request it to come back. Same with the next one. I mean, whether it's deferred or.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you could
Very
you can
convoluted.
still get annexed into the city even without a project, right? You can just come and have your property annexed. So I think it's still proper to see it next month,
Yeah.
regardless of the outcome of the land use.
Be the choice of that project representation. That being said, our next item up on the agenda falls underneath item 7E. It is a recommendation item to the Board of Commissioners is review the preliminary master development plan PUD, including a rezone from R1 to RS15 PUD for the 782 Northwest Rutland Road subdivision located at 782, 870, and 908 Northwest Rutland Road. Got to open it to comments. Mr. Bobbin.
All right. As I said before, it's 9955 plus on the south side of Northwest Rutland Road. 39.11 acres. I'll get to the plan here. Some of the big things on it would be the waivers that they're requesting. I don't know if you've looked at them. We support them all except for the two of them, which are front-loading garage along access roads. Do not support. And then the setbacks under the setback section, 20 foot in lieu of 30-foot front setbacks they're requesting, and also 7.5-foot side setbacks in lieu of 10-foot side setbacks. Staff will support a 10-foot side setback in lieu of the 7.5 feet. The other modifications, the 20-foot front setback versus 30 feet, we're okay with that. And the rest of the conditions, or waivers rather, facade material, fairly straightforward, 50-50 brick, stone, and the other 50% cement board. It's 50% of the units so 50% of the 99 units will be 50% brick or stone, with the remaining 50% being brick, stone, and cement board. So you have half all brick, the other half brick and stone and cement board. Confusing, I know. Garage is recessed 6 feet from the front facade in lieu of 10 feet. Support that. Omit masonry column between the garage doors. Staff supports that. Minimum lot width 55 feet in lieu of 75 feet. Support that as well. And max lot coverage of 50% in lieu of 30. Staff supports. The thinking on this is it's age restricted, so smaller lots, less to care for that type of buyer user. So summarize, I guess, would be 99 units, 2.5 units an acre, 55 plus. I guess that's the summary here. We've already been through the land use, so I don't know what else to say. If you got any questions, let me know.
Very well. Shane, prior to hearing your comments, I'm going to go ahead and ask for representation for this item right here. Name and address for the record.
Ryan Lovelace, CSTG. We're representing the applicant on this project. With the land use policy change getting denied, we asked for an indefinite deferral on this item, and also, if we can, indefinite deferral on the plan of services that was voted on before. Indefinite deferral for both of them.
Very well.
Thanks.
There's a request for deferral. Thank you very much. That being said, we will move on with our agenda. Next item up on our agenda is a recommendation item back to the Board of Commissioners. It is item 7F. Let me give a pause real quick. Anybody from Northwest Rutland want to leave real quick? I know we had a lot here. I saw the flyers. So we'll take a pause before we hear our next item on the agenda here real quick. Allow people to leave. All right. Thank you guys for your patience once again here tonight. Moving on with our agenda. Our next item up on our agenda is item 7F. It is to review the land use plan amendment from low density residential to medium density residential for Silver Springs phases 8 through 13, located at 9621 Lebanon Road. Jill.
Thank you. This is Silver Springs, a PUD amendment and the land use amendment. To speak to the land use amendment first, the original Silver Springs phases 1 through 7 was approved in 2003. So it's been around for quite a while. They've requested to add 96 additional lots in 5 phases over the course of an extended period. It's on 47.39 acres. Currently, the land use shown is low-density residential. The applicant requested high-density residential due to the original PUD was RS15 zoning, which is the high-density residential. They requested high. It currently allows for low density, and we have recommended the medium-density residential. The surrounding zoning, or land use, excuse me, is medium-density and thoroughfare commercial. The city's land use plan does not support the medium density residential in the areas. It calls for low density. However, the requested additional phases in this development would be in accordance with the originally approved PUD in 2003. So they're not increasing density. It's a little confusing, a little convoluted. So that's where we stand, at least with the land use amendment. The original PUD had high density. The current future land use is for low density. We've recommended medium density in order to meet what they're requesting. So if that makes sense, apologize, it's a little convoluted, but.
So if this was approved back in 2003 as medium density, when the land use map got adopted, why was that not taken into consideration?
It was high density in
It was high
2000.
density?
It's RS15 is what the current zoning is for phases 1 through 7 that are currently existing for the Silver Springs subdivision. Because this actually has access directly off of Lebanon Road. So that's why it's listed as thoroughfare commercial. The property itself is currently in the county and zoned agricultural. So that's again why I said it's a little convoluted, because it does have direct access to Lebanon Road. So that's why the thoroughfare commercial was brought into consideration for the land use.
Thank you.
And when you add in this these new phases, because of the additional open space, the overall density of the whole PUD actually goes down when you add in the additional phases here.
Very well. Commissioner Book? Okay.
For that, what road connectors are going to be used?
I'll actually let Public Works speak to that.
Please.
Yes, so right now with up to phase 6 or phase 7 under construction for Silver Springs, they are building a connector onto the existing Karen Drive, which loops from this property, loops north before heading back down and having direct access to Lebanon Road. The main access for Silver Springs is off of Bender's Ferry Road. They're tying into a road that's called Mill Cove that's yet to be constructed, that is currently under construction during these current approved phases.
Oh,
Um,
that's what I saw.
Yes.
Going on today when I looked at it. That was like, well, where is Mill Cove? So it's
It-
not labeled yet.
Currently, Mill Cove does not exist.
Okay.
But it is on the way. It is approved and under construction.
Gotcha. That's already done.
One question as well.
Please.
I don't know if you know this, was Karen Drive built prior to the 2003 approval? Did that predate the project? And if so, was it
believe-
always in the project to connect to Karen Drive at some point?
Karen Drive has been there.
Okay.
It far exceeds this subdivision.
I believe there was a previous PUD amendment in the 2000 teens. I'm not sure exactly when though.
And looking at what we have, it looks like we did approve it with the connection to Karen Drive previously.
Okay.
So that is a correct statement. Correct. Yes, I remember slightly in 2013, was not present on this body in 2003. Beat me by 3 years. So I got here in 2006, but was present during the other phases and their approval as well. And then also active during the land use plan or the last land use plan that the city did. And as Jill spoke, it's because of the connectivity to Lebanon Road on this particular parcel is the reason why it's denoted as it is underneath the land use plan. And that was part of discussion and where we came to.
Let me clarify this with you, Jill. That Karen Drive that we see where it says low density residential, that's that's going to connect to the other Karen Drive. I mean, the other Karen Drive is going to be connected to the other phase as well. The one that comes off Bender's Ferry, Karen Drive versus the one that comes off Lebanon Road. Is that correct? Both of those roads are Karen Drive and they're going to be connected to both.
I'll have to let Public Works speak to the road connections. My
Yes,
apologies.
the current plan is for the build out happening right now to make Karen Drive continuous from Lebanon Road to Bender's Ferry. And then these next phases that we're discussing tonight are going to tie in off of that.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm wrong, we did approve the previous phases. Millbrook Road, I believe that's the name of the road that's being constructed right now. That FMDP and PUD, when it was approved, showed connectivity to the property in question that we're reviewing tonight, and also showed the previous connectivity to Karen Drive, as you see right there. And kind of speak to that, the desire is to give us multiple entrances and multiple ways in. Remember a little bit of the discussion as we got into some of these phases back here. It was to provide another way for the folks on Karen as well to potentially have access to what we thought at that time, or at that time, I believe it was the stoplight right there at Bender's Ferry as well. So some background of what I can recall. Slept a few nights since then, but that was kind of the rationale in the initial development. And like I said, I believe it was 2013 the last time that we saw that, or we saw the final phases in 2013, if I am correct. Further questions, comments? Let's go ahead and open it up. Let's ask for representation in regards to this project. Name and address for the record.
Mike Wright with Lowe's Design, 1274 Coffin Hill Road, Watertown. Representing Universal Builders. Just here to answer your questions. Did you have any?
Questions or comments? Very well. Thank you. This time, let's go ahead and open it up to citizen comments. Anyone wishing to make comment are welcome, encouraged to do so. Please come to the microphone and state your name and address for the record.
Hi, me again, Lynn Beer, 158 Karen Drive. When they first started,
Ms. Baird?
yes,
I was reminded that, remember when we opened the meeting, so you get one opportunity to speak, either
Oh,
at the
just
beginning of the
one?
mean. Yes, ma'am.
Oh,
Or you can speak
I
when the
thought-
item is
I thought I could
presented.
have two chances.
No, ma'am, just one. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, that sucks.
Well, isn't there two different items pertaining to that
Yeah,
subdivision? So
Well,
just
there's
speak on the
three.
next one then.
There's three then.
You
There's
speak
three
on the
different
next one.
items, so I can speak on different items?
Just one time.
I only get one.
It's one,
time to
it's
speak on that
per
one.
project.
Okay. Well, that still sucks.
My name is Matt Degenhardt. I'm at 505 Karen Court. This proposed development is backing up directly to my property. Obviously I like my privacy back there, but of course that's none of your concerns. My larger concern is really the blasting that's happening. They've already shaken things off of my walls. When I'm in my shop, when I'm working on vehicles, I've had wrenches fall off of my vehicle as I'm working on it when they're blasting. So it's already out of hand, and they're already, they're a distance away from us now. This is butting up directly to the back of my property. So I have a concern that it's going to cause my property to be devalued and to have, foundation issues. Even beyond that, the easements that are going to be in place. What type of easements are there going to be? And you guys have spoken a bit about, public safety, things of that nature. As of right now, that's a one-way in, one-way out into that subdivision. You guys connect through to us. Well, then are you guys going to try and annex us into the city? Because we're currently county. So that's another concern that we have. And I see Mr. George seems to think that's not the case, and I hope that wouldn't be the case.
Well, I don't want to interrupt you.
No, you're fine.
By any means, but we can't force you to come into the city. You as a property owner have to request the city to annex in. We can never tell you you're in the city.
Gotcha.
So it's a choice by the property owner.
Okay. So then the connecting of the city subdivision and the county subdivision, that would have no bearing on any kind of annexation or anything like that. Okay. So that's definitely good to know then. But it still is just very concerning to me, the amount of traffic that then comes through our very serene neighborhood. I don't know if you guys have been back through that neighborhood, but it's nice and open, old established homes, large lots. We add another 100 homes to the other, 200 back there already, 150, I believe it is, that's already been built in Silver Springs. And then we route all that traffic through our nice, serene subdivision. It's no longer nice and serene. And people who aren't familiar with that subdivision, I think there becomes, again, a concern for public safety, because we have a lot of hills and turns coming down through that road. And it's very easy, if you're not familiar with that road, to be speeding and to potentially hit a child or a dog or who knows what. A deer. Yes, exactly. Deer. We have a huge population of deer back in there. But yeah, I just really wanted to voice those concerns and see if there was some way that I could see the proposed development and see how that is going to affect my property. Because my understanding is Mr. Bender's property basically surrounds one large portion of mine. And I would like to know kind of how all this is set to play out and what the timeline looks like on it.
Very well. Thank you. Good
Yes,
stuff.
sir. Thank you.
Matt, real quick, you were on Karen Drive, is that right? You're on Karen Court? Thank you.
Yes, okay. Philip Stegner. I'm at 153 Karen Drive, and I built my house there in '84. I have 2.5 acres, and everybody in that subdivision is on at least 2 or 2.5 acres. It's very peaceful and quiet. We got a lot of deer. And when this was proposed in this development, and they said, well, this is going to happen in 2013, we all cringed because, I was up here then talking about safety, and now it's coming to fruition. And all those people can go out their subdivision and go vendors to the light, get on Lebanon Road. There's no light coming out of Karen Road to Lebanon Road, right at that elementary school, which I was working in Lebanon this year and trying to get out when everybody's dumping their kids into that school. There's no turning left to go to Lebanon. So unless there's a light there, even then, the safety is going to be a real issue. And whoever's in charge with the roads, we could consider some speed bumps, because I can see people going from Silver Springs, whatever that place is called, coming through our neighborhood, barreling ass down, to Lebanon Road to get out. And we're going to have some issues. We're going to hit some deer. We're going to hit some people. I'm in a curve. I'm on lot 44, 153. So right in that curve, when I'm turning into my driveway, I can see somebody coming barreling down. It's going to be dangerous. So I knew it was going to happen when I heard it, 2013 or whenever it was. So now it's happening. So I wanted to let you know. Thank you.
Thank you. Please.
Ray Justice, City Commissioner, District 1. Had some phone calls in regard to this property over here from the owner, from Mr. Bender, who's the property owner as well. And talked to Mr. White. And looking at the property over here now, I think Commissioner Hefner will tell you that everything that we have done, I'm going to say north of Lebanon Road, we've tried to do RS40. We tried to do low density. And for the most part, we've been able to get everybody to comply. Now, obviously, when you're putting on a 5-lane highway, your density can be a little higher because you've got more infrastructure in place. But coming off of Lebanon Road, going north, I actually am hoping anything from the railroad tracks north. As people move over into my district, in District 1, I'm asking for the lowest density possible for everything over there. They can put townhome projects over there, and that's fine, as long as it's on the main drags. When you start getting off of those main drags, that's when the infrastructure doesn't support the density. So, you know, what I'm going to ask, and I don't know how, and this would be a Charles Michaels question, I believe, when the first PUD was approved over there in 2003, if I'm not mistaken, that was a high density PUD with RS15. Now, if I'm not mistaken, they're asking for the same density or medium density. And Jill, can you tell me is it land use at this point though? Is it
Land use is going to require, yeah, for medium density.
Is it medium density? So RS20 is what they're asking for in RS20 PUD, correct? Okay. Again, the fact that it's restricted and limited in the infrastructure, I'm asking for it to be what it originally was, and that was RS40. Now, based on the zoning and based on our minimum lot sizes, that still allows for them to get pretty much the same density over there, but it still retains the low density restrictions that we've been able to put in place. I can't think, and the fact that it's a PUD amendment at this point to something that's already been approved, I don't know. That's the legalese I'm looking for.
I heard you say something's already been approved. What?
The original Silver Springs
Right.
was approved in 2003, amended in
Right.
2013.
Right. And so, I mean, it doesn't really have an impact on this additional land that's being brought into the PUD.
Okay, so the phases 8 through 13, are they, is this not being amended to the original PUD?
Okay, they did a request amendment. Regardless of whether they requested an amendment, they're still, I mean, you would treat it as an entirely new PUD if you wanted to, if it was all still, being built out. But it's two different, it's really two different things still. I mean,
Two separate developments is what you're saying.
Two separate approvals still. I mean, the first thing's already vested. It's already approved. Everything to date is approved. It's all good. This is to add to it, and just because other things have been approved previously doesn't mean those have to be approved when it relates to this one.
Okay, what I'm looking at here is under 7F is the review of the land use plan amendment from low density residential to medium density residential. For Silver Springs phases 8 through 13, located at 9621 Lebanon Road. And so what I'm asking for is for it to maintain the low density, and if we take it in as a separate entity as opposed to a PUD amendment, if we keep it at the low density, I believe they can get the same density numbers wise per acre.
Okay.
And without even doing a land use change amendment.
Thank you. And I was like you, I was concerned about all the development with the medium density, high density, and low density. I thought on this seemed to be more in keeping with the Karen Drive aspect. But then I drove through Silver Springs, and I hadn't done that in a long time. And I looked at that, and I thought that the medium density seemed to fit the neighborhood, that it was a well-kept neighborhood. They were very nice homes there. If they continue with the medium density, it would be more in keeping with what you enter at the beginning off of Bender's Ferry, right? Bender's Ferry. That's going to be the same. I mean, I'm okay if you're asking for low density too. That is fine with me.
If I may give you my reasoning behind that, and Mr. Chairman, I apologize. I don't want to monopolize the microphone, but my reasoning behind this is that we've got RS15 is what was originally put in there. This density on this particular piece of property is low density. They're taking it to medium density.
Right.
Then you can't get any lower density once you get to the county side of that at 2 acre lots over on the original Karen Drive that was built, somebody help me, in the 70s probably, something like that. So, okay, I remember riding around on a mini bike and getting in trouble and deer hunting over there many years ago. Love the area over there. Those homes and that subdivision, the original Karen Drive, is very quiet. very serene.
I went through there too.
So what I'm suggesting is that we use this as a transitional piece from the RS-15 to the RS-40, and then to whatever the county calls I'm assuming R1 or R2. So it's transitional in density going over, and it gives a buffer to the people that live on the original Karen Drive as well.
My concept of that is I'm taking over here, is when I drove through the old Karen Drive, the old area, it was much longer to go that way, and I could see how that would be an advantage if I were living in the old Karen Drive to go through Silver Springs to get to the red light. That was my thinking. And rather than Silver Springs going up and using Karen Drive to come all the way down.
And there you are giving a very good example of what I'm talking about, where you have less density, so you have less numbers going over to the original Karen or the Silver Springs over to Bender's Ferry where the red light is. So once again, you're buffering the original Karen Drive, and at the same time, you're giving some relief to the people who live in Silver Springs as it connects to Bender's Ferry. That's what I'm asking for. I'll be asking for that at the city commission as well, if it makes it that far. So, but I appreciate your time. Thank you for letting me talk.
And correct me if I'm wrong, piggybacking Commissioner Justice's comments right there. We cannot make a change to their request from low density to medium density. They would have to request that themselves. Okay, very well.
Right.
So that'd have to be at the request of the applicant to amend that to a medium density amendment to the land use plan versus what the request is tonight, which is a low density. So we kind of have to hear it for what it is, and it's a medium density or a request to a low density. Request from low density to medium density. Sorry, they would have to amend or withdraw this request is what they would have to do. You're welcome to speak.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just want to clarify something. Maybe I heard wrong, but is there another connection to Lebanon Road that I'm not seeing other than Bender's Ferry?
Yeah. Original Karen Drive, not the new Karen Drive built with Silver Springs.
It's all Lebanon Road.
Oh, okay. I got you. Okay.
It would pop out on the other side of the
Just kind of a
school.
driveway, but it
Okay.
goes to Lebanon Road.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't seeing that. So
No,
thank you.
Karen's up here. And right here. It does this, but this property does connect to Lebanon Road. Please, Jill.
Just to give a point of clarification, for the medium density residential, what they are currently asking for their density is 2.02 units per acre. The max density on RS-20, which is the medium density residential, which they're requesting, is 2.2. So right in line with that. You reduce that to the RS-40, the max density they can get is 1.1 units per acre. And that would be the low density land use.
So they'd have to remove lots from this phase to make it meet that density.
To make it meet low
Yeah.
density.
Yes, sir.
Or what?
Question, and I might be putting staff on
Please.
spot. I apologize. So on these last phases, how many houses are they entitled to under the current PUD as amended in 2013?
I don't think anything. This is new. This is all new.
This is all new.
Brand new.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, all the current PUD does is show potential connectivity to adjacent properties out there, regardless of the decision of this body tonight, or anything else that we would hear regards to this. The connection to Karen Drive still exists, still will happen. So that's nothing that we're even reviewing. I mean, you would add 96 more houses, but the connection to Karen Drive still exists, still approved, still there, not being changed. Please.
Can I speak real quick?
Please.
One of the things that I was checking on here, or one of the things that I was discussing, they talked to some folks earlier today, and the way that our subdivision regulations are set down, and Mr. Bowman, if you would correct me if you need to, but my understanding is even under RS-40, if it winds up being in a cluster situation or a PUD where there is certain land that is not buildable, then we still would allow them to do some 20,000 square foot homes, even down to 10,000 square foot homes, as long as the median density is going to be an average of 15,000 per square foot for the overall subdivision. Now, that's my understanding as we, on the ordinance that myself and Commissioner Hefner passed.
Well, so in a PUD, you have, you can modify the lot sizes as the board see fit, as long as they meet those ordinances. But in this case, because it's a PUD, while you're allowed to adjust the lot sizes, the overall density has to meet what's in the code here. And so if they went to RS40, the lot sizes could be whatever, but for the given acreage and the number of units, they cannot exceed 1.1 units an acre, which is why when they submitted for an RS15, I looked at it and I said, this doesn't need to be RS15 because RS15 allows 2.9 units an acre. They only have 2.02. So that takes it down into RS20 territory where the max is 2.2 units an acre. So what over, you can adjust the lot sizes versus what's allowed under straight zoning in a PUD, but the PUD still has to maintain an overall density.
The total density for the numbers is what
Yes.
and that's what I was talking about. If you on the numbers associated with the low density.
Yes.
So we're still getting the same numbers, although the lot sizes are going to be tweaked as they need to be to get the overall
If they could work it that way.
to meet the 2015-10 ruling on it. Correct.
But the way it's laid out now, they're at 2.2, which is medium. So
Yeah.
it,
Let me make a suggestion real quick and cut that off so we can move forward a little bit right here. Because I got additional comments too, but I'm focused on the land use plan right now and nothing
I
more than the
apologize.
land use plan. And our discussion's going past land use plan to the PMDP and whatnot out there, and there'll be time and a place for that. May I make a suggestion? I mean, we can always give a positive recommendation subject to the approval of the remainder of it so that we can get into the applicable discussion that Commissioner Justice is addressing, Mr. Boffman is addressing, Jill is addressing over here, and I think a lot of the comments and concerns out of the commission. And it's ultimately a recommendation item back to the BOC where it can additionally be addressed at that point in time in regards to density and whatnot. Maybe that's not the will, but we can, in order to get into further discussion in regards to that connectivity, lot sizes, everything else. We got to figure out what we're doing on the land use plan so we can really discuss, as Shane in Public Works over here, I'm sure they have plenty of comments, but he knows it's just a land use plan amendment that we're discussing right now. So we're kind of cart ahead of horse right now for the moment. So let's kind of focus on the land use plan amendment. Then let's get into the discussion about the development itself.
I just wanted to make sure you didn't like throw me down and stomp on me or something.
I'm
Don't
not.
like that poor lady over there.
No, no, sir. But let me finish my citizen comments here. Let's see if we can get something. Then
And I was going to ask
yeah.
also, there were some concerns about the dynamite and the blasting, and Commissioner Hefner has become, he's educated himself as a guru in this stuff. He knows more about it than most anybody here at the city. So if you could ask him to help us explain that, I appreciate it.
Gotcha. Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. When we get there, let's finish our citizen comments on the land use plan amendment.
I don't think I'm at the right place, but I just bought
You
land
are.
over on Karen Drive. I can't even give you the
So,
address. My
give-
name is Trula Davis, and I don't know the address over there.
And you live on, on
I have
Carrion Drive.
22 acres over there. So my question is, who do I talk to? Because I don't want to take all this time. That would be, I would have to sit down and figure out what's going on.
With this
With
here
this,
tonight?
yes.
Sure. Welcome to come see our planning staff, Ms. Johnson. Planning is, what's new address over on Clemens?
Thank you. I got it.
No, we're
Appreciate
still
your
here.
time.
We're
Oh,
downstairs.
yeah, that's right. Still here, still down
in the
here in the basement. So, yeah, that's perfect. Come here and talk to planning staff and I know that they'd be glad to discuss and help you and tell you about the process. Please.
Evening, everyone. My name is Carlos Gusby. I reside at 415 Golden Grove. I'm not sure if my question may be pertinent as of right now, but my concern is with them trying to add 85 more homes, I believe, And the way it's set up right now, the new Karen Drive, and he's out onto Bender's Ferry. Are there plans to widen Bender's Ferry? Because right now, just with the Silver Spring as it is on school days, it's a mess. And I guess they're building another big subdivision down Bender's Ferry. So I guess mine is more of an infrastructure question.
I'm going to, because you've hit the nail on the head right there. And so I'm going to let Shane address that from Public Works, because there are lots of things in the works out there. Shane, would you mind addressing that question?
As part of the Moss Farm development, Bender's Cove is the name of that development. They are improving Bender's Ferry, widening it from the northern end of their property down to the intersection. That has to be done before a CO is issued on a house. So those plans are currently under review. Todd's reviewing them right now. He can go into the specifics on what they're doing. And in addition to that, there's another development called Traymore that's also widening the road from just past Mace Chapel down to meet the Bender's Cove development. So you're looking at a good stretch that's going to become 3 lanes and intersection improvements.
Okay. Do you have any idea like what the time frame of this?
I can't speak for Traymore. Those construction plans are being reviewed right now, but before the Bender's Cove development can sell or have someone move into a home, they have to have the intersection at Bender's Ferry improved.
Yeah. Thank you. And important to note there too, along with the widening for cars, is the addition of sidewalks as well from the Moss Farm or the Bender's Cove development, from their entrance all the way down to Lebanon Road as well. So not only road widening, installation of sidewalks in there. And you're right, in the morning, it's needs some help. Yeah. And there's also, to make mention, and one that is out of our control, there's another development as well on Bender's Ferry that's being developed within the county. So technically there's 3 developments right now on Bender's Ferry right there. But one is being developed purely underneath the county. I think this body, and I believe our Board of Commissioners, gave a negative recommendation, but they are still allowed to do what they're doing. Any additional citizen comments in regards to the land use plan amendment? That being said, we'll close citizen comments, and at which time looking for a recommendation in regards to this item on our agenda. I'd like to talk about it a little bit more, so I'm going to make a motion for a positive recommendation on this item. Subject to the approval of the annexation and plan of services, subject to the approval of the PUD amendment for Silver Springs. And if those fail, then it reverts back to its current land use plan of low density. That's my motion. Seeing no second, motion fails. Looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion for denial for the land use amendment.
What's that?
I think it automatically fails. It automatically fails. Yeah. It automatically fails.
I never got a second on my motion.
Right.
Yeah, so my motion fails,
So
so.
we have to vote again, even though it failed, to get a second.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So Commissioner George, you got a motion?
Yeah, motion for denial of the land use amendment.
Second.
It's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raise your hand. Against? Abstentions? That is a negative recommendation. With that being said, the next item up on our agenda falls underneath item 7G. It is also a recommendation item back to the Board of Commissioners to review the annexation and plan of services for Silver Springs, phases 8 through 13, located at 9621 Lebanon Road. At which time I'm going to ask for a motion in regards to this item on our agenda.
Move
or a motion to defer this item on our agenda. Sorry.
Defer that until next meeting.
That is correct. Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. Against? Abstentions? That is a motion for deferral of item 7G. Next item up on our agenda is item 7H. It is a recommendation item back to the Board of Commissioners to review the PUD amendment for Silver Springs, phases 8 through 13, located at 9621 Lebanon Road. Jill.
As previously stated, this is a PUD amendment to add additional phases with 96 lots with 47.39 acres. There have been no changes requested to the original bulk standards that were approved on the original PUD in 2003. Let's see here. They actually have several questions, recommendations here. The waivers that they are requesting within this, the staff does not support number one of not building a sidewalk on Mill Cove. Number two, to have 20 lots on the cul-de-sac for Road B. Staff does support that waiver. Waiver number three, to have the access point for 103 lots on Mill Cove. Staff supports that waiver. Length of Road B cul-de-sac from 700 to 750 feet. Staff does support that as well. And then also the disturbance of the steep slopes. Staff supports that. As I previously stated, the bulk standards, there's been no changes, no requested differences to that. This subdivision will be primarily masonry products. As previously stated as well, the density with the original PUD was the lots were approximately 5,227 feet with an average of 7,791 square feet. With the amended PUD, the minimum lot size will increase to 10,000 square feet with an average of 11,000 square feet.
Very well. Shane, Public Works.
Since the land use amendment failed, are the comments moot?
They are, but we still have to
Oh, it is formally
let
discussed.
it run through its process.
Staff recommends approval of our comments as conditioned.
Very well. Thank you. Questions or comments from the commission? Please. Come. We are on the, at this point in time, 7H. We're on the PUD amendment for Silver Springs.
I wanted to address the blasting.
Yeah.
I lost my page. Anyways, the blasting. So it's actually now a standard operating procedure, I think is the right term.
Yes, sir. We've also added it to our conditions.
So it is
Standard.
it is part of the conditions, but if you haven't read, I think it's number 14.
Yes, sir.
So, so what we did, the state allows for, just real quick, I'm going to be brief. The state allows for, they measure blasting in terms of vibration and how fast vibration travels through the ground after a charge is set off. The state allows for a maximum of 2 inches per second. That's allowable. What we have been doing, this board, and I brought this forward about 3 years ago, is reducing the maximum allowable vibration travel, reducing that to 1 inch per second. So effectively reducing the charge or the blasting, the powder, whatever's used, reducing that by 50%. So it's traveling at half the speed, which means less explosions, less fly rock, less everything. The other thing that we've incorporated now into the conditions, certified letters for pre and post inspections have to go out to any residents within 500 feet of the property line, not where the tube is, where they drill the hole. Because state allows for 300 feet from the actual point where they set the charge off. So I've extended that out 500 feet from the actual property line, not from the blasting tube. So you will be getting a certified letter of inspection. The third thing was the blasting companies industry standard is blasting companies will hire the seismograph monitoring company that measures the travel of the vibrations. So I've now required that the seismograph monitoring company holds the contract with the general contractor, not with the actual blasting company, because that's a direct conflict of interest. So those are all points that have been included in this. I appreciate staff for including those. And I am considering one other point to add, but I'm got to consider the alternative, and that's restricting blasting from 100 feet from a residential commercial structure. The downside to that is the alternative is you're going to hear a hammer jack all day long. So and there's science behind whether more damage is done with a jack versus a blaster. I've heard arguments on both sides. I'm not that much of an expert in that, but it's something that I am considering, and I'm not doing it here now. I may do it if it ends up going to the BOC. I may add that, which sounds like that you're pretty close to some areas that might be blasting. So anyways, I know I said it was only going to be a couple minutes, but I did want to at least, let you know what's already in here if this does carry forward.
Yeah, I want to piggyback and explain something real quick, and kind of piggybacks why my rationale between trying to get a positive recommendation and be able to hear it. Couple different things, and piggyback what Commissioner Hefner says. What he's done on the blasting is admirable on that, and would agree. Underneath our ordinance, Monday through Saturday, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m., you're allowed to do that. So if you've ever listened to a hammer from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m., it's a lot better than what he's doing, and it holds these guys accountable when they go in there blasted. But a couple things that I saw on here as I was looking at this PUD amendment today, and reading staff comments, which I'm going to reiterate here and kind of giving the rationale, which I felt was worthy for discussion. I'm going to pick up on preliminary master development plan. Says no changes to the original bulk standards as it was previously approved. The noted difference is a decrease in density. Because I feel like the property is going to develop at some point. So one of them important here, it's a decrease in density. It's an increase in the lot sizes. And the only thing they're keeping is the retention of the original setbacks, front, side, corner. And the addition of the new phases is an improvement to the additional PUD. So again, piggybacking what Commissioner Bullock had said earlier, sometimes you got to be careful of what can come through. It ties in, makes connectivity. On top of that, the original minimum lot size underneath the PUD that is approved out there was 5,227 square foot lot size, with an average of 7,791. This PUD amendment brings those lot sizes to 10,000 square foot with an average of 11,000 square foot. So they're doubling their lot size is basically what they're doing. So what you see on the ground out there in Silver Springs, it's a significant difference. And I think an improved difference, in trying to piggyback on what Commissioner Justice was saying, is get a larger lot, larger house, meet all of that. And that's what I was seeing in this as well. Some of my hopes, if it had pressed forward, was a possible reduction. There was going to be some discussion in regards to placement of some of the lots on here that I felt would be conflicting on that, which would have possibly reduced the actual number of lots as presented before us. A couple of the other notes that I had there, which was my hope, was a stoplight at Karen Drive and Lebanon Road as well. Because after this, y'all will hear it. I hope you do hang around, because we got a project coming to us tonight, almost right across the street from Karen Drive on Lebanon Road there, that you'll hear some comments on that. Additional comments were to try to get a copy of the overall master PUD for existing Silver Springs posted on site, so that folks like you, we gave you a copy of what we're seeing here tonight, but you can see what's approved, and because it does go 2003, 2014, so that you guys have knowledge for how we lay out these potential connectivity connection points on approved subdivisions. It's good planning, trying to have some foresight in the way that we provide and we conduct our planning here in Mount Juliet. That if you have a large parcel connecting to a development that lies within the city, good planning generally shows connectivity. And good planning also allows you to find safer ways in, safer ways out unfortunately, as we are here, we're such a mixture of county and city. And, even in that Northwest Rutland, I know that you guys heard me say that I hope that they take the same organization and get a one-lane bridge approved that is very dangerous in the city. I feel like that if that many people organized and came together, that they would get those improvements out there on Northwest Rutland Road, that in particular at nighttime, actually nighttime is probably the easier way down Northwest Rutland because you can see your stoplights, but then it is hard to judge your bearings there. So just kind of wanted to add some additional comments, ultimately hoping to improve Karen Drive as a whole, hopefully trying to find a way to increase some sidewalks as well within the area, trying to find a way to see if we can't get Karen Drive folks back off of Lebanon Road. I travel that corridor a whole bunch personally. I'm down Bender's Ferry a whole bunch personally. I'm down that corridor of Lebanon Road and West Elementary, which I try to avoid during school traffic as best I can. And here we are 2 weeks from school, make my runs to Lebanon, try to get them out of the way as best I can between here and there. So just wanted to provide a little bit of insight and a little bit of rationale there because was kind of looking at it from staff point and a potential improvement based upon what we did approve in 2004 and 2014. So that being said, let's go ahead and open it up for staff comments and for citizen comments. Welcome and encouraged to do so. Name and address for the record.
Tim Osborne, 503 Karen Court. I appreciate what you were talking about, having inspections done to the homes around before they start blasting in that area, if they are going to go through with that development. But I don't think 500 feet is going to touch even Mr. Degenhardt's house from that property line. So that's kind of null and void. That's not going to affect us at all or benefit us at all. And my house is built on the same rock as his house, just right up the hill. And we're already getting negative effects from the blasting that they're doing. I don't know, what is it, an eighth of a mile, quarter of a mile over the hill from us, including shrapnel coming into our driveways. Luckily, I parked my vehicles in a garage, but if we didn't, they'd be negatively affected. But shower in the front window of my house and the front roof of my porch, that's already an issue. And they're not even within an eighth of a mile of us. And they're going to be right on the other side of his property line, on the other side of the tree line, which is, I'd say 900 feet from your house. So, I mean, the extension to 500 feet of having our homes or having homes within that area inspected before they blast really isn't going to do anything for us. And we've already been told pretty much that the effects and damages we've had from them blasting where they're previously or currently building in Silver Springs, they pretty much tell us they don't give a shit because they're within their limits, which they're not. If shrapnel's hitting my house an eighth of a mile over the hill, they might be within the limits whenever they first did their test blast, but we know how that goes. You can always increase the limit to blast more rock out at one time, when nobody's looking. And that's pretty much what I feel has been happening. So I appreciate you wanting to help take care of us, in that area if they're going to come through and blast again. But I think that radius of home inspections before they blast may need to be a little bit bigger.
Please.
Keep in mind of reducing the blast by 50%. So the amount of, call it dynamite, is going to be reduced by 50%. So,
but they're already going to be 70%. I'd say closer. To
yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I mean, we can get we can get seismograph readings from the state. We can request those if they're blasting in the city.
But is it going to be every blast though?
On this PUD, it will be if it passes, every blast will have to be held to a maximum of 1 inch per second or below. It'll come
the
in.
Extension of what you're talking about, the liability of damages, 500.
Yeah, I mean, the state allows 300 feet. So, I mean, we're reducing the charge in half and we're extending the amount of coverage. And in some instances, depending on where they're blasting, it could be as much as 1,000 feet, 2,000 feet. Because again, the state's point of measurement is where the actual tube is, where they drilled and they're plugging the hole full of dynamite. That's the point where they start the 300 feet.
Right.
What I've done is I've added I've moved the point of which we start measuring to the property line and then added 500 feet beyond that. So even though he's maybe beyond 500 feet, he's certainly beyond 500 feet from where they're actually going to be blasting. So we've been doing this for a couple of years now, and we've gotten a lot of good positive feedbacks from our fire chief, the certification letters that have gone out, at least in the city limits. I don't know. I can't speak to.
Not when we talked to the fire chief about it.
Okay. Have you talked to him recently?
What was that, a year ago?
Okay. Was it Luffman or our new?
I'd rather not say, but
our fire chief? Okay. Well, I know who he is, but
Yeah.
okay.
There's and correct me if I'm wrong, if he sees evidence of damage or
You can
whatnot,
report it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would encourage you to
we
reach out
have.
to
That's who we
staff
talked to
immediately.
was fire chief.
Okay.
And then they recommend us to their construction company, and they pretty much say there's no way that could happen. We're blasting within our limits.
I'll look into it. Let me get your name.
Okay.
Yeah.
And your address. I'll look into
I
it.
understand they say they're blasting within the limits, but when somebody's there with the seismograph and goes, okay, this much powder or however it's done is being used, y'all are good.
Yeah.
That guy leaves. We want to blast more rock out at one time, add more to it. Yeah, it makes a bigger boom. Nobody's home. Hopefully they don't realize it, but my wife was home.
The seismograph.
And there's nobody reading the side. There's not a seismograph set up there, but not at that time there wasn't.
Yeah. Well, they're supposed to be set 24/7. They're not supposed to remove them, set them back. But I'll look
Yeah.
into it.
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Yeah, what they told us that,
I know.
that when they set up their initial test blasting, they were within their limits.
So we can move on. I know Commissioner Hefner has been a champion of that.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, I know that Commissioner Hefner's information is on the city website. If you'd reach out to him or leave staff your contact information
Yeah.
and
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you're seeing stuff like that, let the right people know.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Kenneth Blankenship, 303 Midtown Trail in Silver Springs. I do have some concerns about traffic through that neighborhood. We currently have issues with drivers going too fast. I would like to see maybe some traffic calming suggestions put forth for the developer. The other concern is traffic in and out of that neighborhood with Bender's Ferry. I understand there are improvements coming, so that does alleviate some of those. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any additional citizen comments? You refer over to Mr. Michaels real quick on this. We brought it forward to remain in compliance. Do we make a recommendation on this item, correct?
Yes.
Very well. That being said, I'm looking for a recommendation in regards to this item on our agenda.
I'll make a negative recommendation.
Very well.
Second.
It's a motion and a second for a negative recommendation. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Against? Abstentions? That is a negative recommendation.
Thank you.
Next item up on the agenda falls underneath the site plan is item 8A, to review the site plan for Tim Hortons located at 10576 Lebanon Road. Jill.
The Tim Hortons is actually going to be placed onto the existing parcel that is the Golden Bear Market that is currently undergoing renovations at this site. The applicant is requesting to place a 1,678 square foot drive-through restaurant along with a 343 square foot office addition onto the convenience store building. So it's kind of like a dual purpose site plan. There have been a few minor changes to this site. The project is actually going to be utilizing the existing gas pumps, the existing convenience store that's undergoing renovations. The drive-through will have a 2 drive-through lane. The restaurant's going to also offer sit-down service inside. The addition to the existing convenience store is just being shown as office use. We don't have a specified user at this time. The bulk regs have been correctly rendered. The building coverage allowance of 50% is well within the maximum. There are a couple of minor tweaks onto the staff report for the ISR coverage. They are still well under the 70% maximum. And also on the parking, they originally had placed 35 regular parking stalls and we're going to utilize 12 parking stalls at the gas pumps. We've told them that that could not be utilized as such. So they have since come back and added additional parking stalls onto this site. So they do meet the 45 required parking spaces that will be for the convenience store and also the restaurant there. The vehicular access will be provided via Park Glen and also Lebanon Road. I'll let Public Works speak more detail to that momentarily. Pedestrian access will also be provided via sidewalk to Lebanon Road via a public sidewalk connection. Spoke to the parking. Building design is going to be predominantly faced with brick, veneer, and stone. The elevation color schemes are well within the limits. The branding elements will be very limited in nature. The wall-mounted utility equipment is going to be screened via masonry. HVAC equipment is going to be roof-mounted, will be screened as well. There are no waivers or variances requested, which is highly unusual. The resubmittal has just a few items to be addressed, very minimal in nature, but we do recommend approval with the conditions as noted below in the staff report.
Very well. Shane, Public Works.
Let Mr. Servant talk about the traffic.
Yeah, so this development, when they came to pre-app, we let them know we were concerned about the existing driveways with the additional use being a drive-through restaurant. And we let them know we had concerns about the queue at the signal at Park Glen, and that we would like them to move the driveways. However, the rehabilitation of the existing gas station was pre-approved, construction was ongoing, and fuel tanks were laid where we would have requested the driveways. The driveways as proposed, or the existing driveways, do meet City of Mount Juliet current standards. They are not compliant with TDOT Highway Systems Access Management Manual. However, that is a guideline instead of a standard at the moment. The current site plan as shown, I have some concerns about vehicular and pedestrian internal circulation, as well as some concern about fuel truck operations through the site. However, I would like to note that the developer has gone to great lengths to improve the site for us. They have been very amenable, and they've noted and tried to improve every concern every step of the way, but there are a few steps forward I'd like to see as well.
Thank you. Anything else from Public Works?
No, sir.
Very well. Commissioner Bullock?
So the TDOT guideline versus standard, what does that mean? Will they weigh in, or was it just like a recommendation, or how does that work?
So TDOT published the HSAM with the intent of that superseding their driveway manual. So that is now a published document, but it needs to be approved by the General Assembly of the state. And there's been some hangups with that process. So currently, the TDOT standard is the previous driveway manual with a supplemental guidance to be implemented at a municipal level, being the Highway Safety Access Manual. If this wasn't a straight zone, we would absolutely be relying on that. But with this being straight zoned, we don't necessarily have the teeth needed to implement that manual. But that manual is the gold standard of access manuals out there. I'd put it up there with anything on a national standard right now.
So like my question is, I know sometimes we talk about road access on state highways, they would basically give their guidance and basically we could make something subject to what they're saying. In this case, we couldn't do that because it's more of a recommendation versus a standard, or?
That is my current interpretation.
Yeah, they already have it.
They already
So
got the access.
They're not asking for a new.
No, I
access.
mean, I know they're not asking for access. I'm talking about with the driveway, like similar to that process. They already got that. I mean,
So this is considered a change of use in TDOT's eyes, so their access does need to be approved by TDOT.
correct. Okay, that's what I'm looking for right there.
Okay.
Gas station. Gas station before. It's a gas station now. What's changed?
It's the addition of the drive-through restaurant.
Ah, okay. Got it.
Commissioner Rex?
Just being an engineer. They've got parking spaces pretty much all along that backside. I would say the west and southern side of the lot, which I would assume were presumed to be access to Tim Hortons. Like where the 3 and 9 and the 2 along the, just to the south. I think I got my directions right, to the south of Tim Hortons. There's all those parking spaces. I would assume that that's for Tim Hortons, not for the convenience store. Correct.
This site is going to be shared parking, I believe. So no designated use per site.
Just
And I believe they are slightly underparked.
No, they actually meet the exact parking number.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
Yes.
they squeezed it in. Okay. The only thing if I were to have any comments on this, I would prefer to see them move that driveway further away from Lebanon Road. Just provide some distance between the stoplight and Lebanon Road, and that could allow for them to put parking adjacent to Tim Hortons in a
So
better arrangement.
that was my original request.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the fuel tanks have been put in on that eastern frontage there, which makes it impossible to put the driveway there and have fueling operations. So really, that driveway realistically can't move with the gas station as shown.
Not the one on Lebanon Road, but the one on Parkland.
Oh, that one, we'd be going into some real FEMA trouble.
Okay. Into the buffer.
Yeah, they'd be in the floodplain if they move that access any
Okay.
further south.
Okay.
Please, Commissioner George.
I echo Commissioner Rask concerns. My parking question is I'm counting 11 that have got some accessibility to Tim Hortons. The requirement's 17. I don't see any accessibility from the 9 or the 2. Are they supposed to get on the sidewalk at Park Glen, go all the way to Lebanon Road, go up and take the pedestrian crosswalk to Tim Hortons? Or do they chance it and play Frogger in the drive-through queue? Because I don't see any accessibility if I park my car, and I know that's funny, but I'm just looking and I'm like, if I park here where the 2 spots are, I'm just hoping that a car doesn't hit me in the drive-through. There's no real access to be able to park there and get to the restaurant safely. So I think that's one of the concerns I've got. I don't truly think it meets the 17 parking spaces required because there's not access there.
Let's go ahead and ask for representation to the project. Hope I answer some questions. Name and address for the record.
Again, engineering a project. We appreciate staff working with us. We've been at this one for 3 or 4 months at least with the traffic study, getting that all through and approved, and then again last month deferring because the previous site layout was a little more in line with Tim Hortons national standards, but not quite in line with the city standards as much. So we've gone back and forth with Todd and Shane and planning staff as well, and kind of come up with a smaller, I'll say smaller version, more efficient version of the plan that we've gotten the Tim Hortons people on board with as well. And again, just appreciate everyone working that out with us. And yeah, if you have any other questions, we're here to answer.
Any questions from the commission? Commissioner Hefner, please. No, you're great.
With Commissioner George says, I'm looking at parking lot area 7. Tim Hortons, this reminds me of Dunkin' Donuts over there by the railroad tracks. That those parking spots right there that are right adjacent to the drive-through. And I've parked there plenty of times, and I've almost got hit a few times. There's no accessibility. I'm not sure how if you get out of your car, how you're going to get in Tim Hortons without potentially walking in front of cars pulling out of that drive-through. And I don't know if that's a question for staff. Is that a concern of staff's, or a question more for representation? But if that's not a concern, then from an engineering standpoint,
That's absolutely a concern. As I stated earlier, this site has internal circulation issues.
Okay, that's what you meant by that. Okay.
Both pedestrian and vehicular. So.
Okay. All right.
Just if I may chime in a little bit, the 7 spaces that you were speaking of, Commissioner, the northern, or excuse me, the eastern striped off area, if you will, and then looking at Tim Hortons on the eastern edge there, just for the information of the board, one of the things that has been adjusted, we will adjust, is that handicap space has been pushed all the way over to the south lot, so that completes an accessible striped walkway through there to get to that front door from those spaces. So you don't have to leapfrog across the drive-through per se. You're going down to the end of your parking row and walking across the crosswalk, which is signed and striped off there. But again, if that's a condition that's already been made, we will gladly adhere to that. As far as the rest of the condition, the rest of the site, just for information, is not, there's no plans, and the intention of the site for the developer is to be owned. He will own the gas station and the Tim Hortons for indefinitely, as far as we're understanding. There's no intent to split the lot at all. Excuse me. So shared parking, same lot. As far as the definition of shared parking goes for the city, they are sharing the entire property, and all the spaces will be utilized by whichever patron decides to walk whichever direction they're going to walk. I'd say similar to any of the other shopping developments that are in Mount Juliet or other surrounding areas. You'll have multiple rows of parking, and you make your way to the front door as you see fit. We also, again, going with what Todd was speaking of earlier, we've looked at, I can say, countless numbers of layouts that we've gotten with staff with, and got with the national brand Tim Hortons, their folks with, and gone through this. And understandably, it is an existing site as it stands. The gas station, everything being kind of already there and established as well. So it's just the uses. Trying to get the best use out of it as you can. And again, this developer is doing, I believe it was 41 across the Mid-South, and this is one of the first 2 that's going to go in. So they're looking to have, a good footing here and a good product put forth. So that's why they let up a little bit on their standards of having double drive-through. And Jill, I'll jump in. I know we had a couple corrections from that last staff report, but it's a single drive-through now instead of a double. I don't know if you all were privileged to see the previous plan, but there was a lot more drive-through and a lot less parking on it originally. So the plan as it sits now, again, meets, I believe, and I'll let staff speak more on it, but I believe we meet all the codes as they stand. And again, like I said, we're just open to conditions and comments. If there's some recommendations, we'd like to field those as necessary.
Awesome. Further questions, comments? Thank you. See none, let's open the floor for citizen comments. Anyone wishing to make comments, welcome to encourage to do so. Come to the microphone, name and address for the record. Seeing no citizen comments this time, I'm looking for a motion in regards to this item on our agenda.
I know that we have concerns about the internal situation with driving. I have concerns about almost any parking and getting out of your car, going into any convenience store these days, no matter where you are. So I would hate for us to not give that a consideration as well. I mean, they're doing what they can here.
So since this isn't a recommendation item, this would be a motion for approval.
Approval, yes.
Okay, very well. Is that a second? We got a motion and a second. Commissioner Bullock, did you have a comment?
Yeah,
Could
we make, I would support that with also support the condition upon the approval of TDOT with the drive-through and those, I mean.
Is that already a condition that lies with them?
Yeah,
It
it's
is.
condition number 6.
It is.
Okay, so that's in there. Motion and a second, still good? Very well. I've got a motion and a second for approval. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. Against? Abstain? That is so approved. Next item up on our agenda is item 8B, is review the site plan for Children's Lighthouse located at 9468 Lebanon Road. John, please.
You all probably remember this one from a few months ago. They still had some items to address regarding sewer connection and all that. But this is, I'll just refresh your memory, 11,500 square foot childcare facility, 9468 Lebanon Road, south side of the road. I'll just talk about some of the things that were big before. So I guess the biggest things, it's pretty buttoned up zoning wise. I'll go over the waivers and variances again because they haven't changed anything regarding that. 65% masonry, 35% hardy board. Staff supports it. Building looks pretty good. A lot of that hardy is around the corners and on the back where you don't even see it. On-site vehicle turnaround with separate entrance and exit points. As we talked about before, the way these schools function, they don't drop the kids off and keep the circulation moving. They park, walk the child in, and that's the operation, according to the operator, how they operate, and seems to be how these types of facilities are these days. A lot of times. And that being said, they do have the appropriate number of loading spaces that are required by the code for a child care facility, but it's just that turnaround and with a separate entrance exit that are asking for a waiver. Staff also supports that. So to summarize, from a zoning standpoint, this is about the same, but like I said, they had utility changes with the utility connection, and that's why they wanted to bring it back. So I'll leave it at that. If provided, the issues that were a problem before are addressed, staff can and is recommending approval of this site plan. But that's contingent on what Public Works might have to say. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Shane, please.
I believe the last time this project development came through, contention point was sewer accessibility. They have shown that. If you read note number 5 of engineering's comments, we are in support of the route that they're showing, but if they do decide to pursue an alternate route for their sewer connection, we respectfully ask that decision come back to this board, because what they're proposing is a beneficial route for the city, and we'd like to keep it that way. In addition, there are turn lane projects, and if there are more further questions on that, Todd can answer those, but there's a TDOT project in the area regarding turn lanes for West Elementary. Utility relocation is a part of that, and all of those issues have to be resolved before we'll sign off on this construction plan documents for this project. No other changes other than their defined routing for the sewer.
Well, questions or comments from the commission? Commissioner George?
I've got a question, Shane. So I'm looking at this memo that we get, and I want to read, it says that it's at the intention of the developer for sewer. However, questions remain as to how this will be accomplished as there are challenges in the area. So what challenges are you seeing? Because when I read number 5 on engineering, it doesn't seem like there is challenges. So I guess the better question is there still challenges for them to have access to sewer?
The T-Dot widening in that area is the issue, and that's part of utility relocation. The routing, if it goes through within T-Dot scope of work, we're fine with doing that. Like I said, that routing is positive for the city, but as we know, and I think Commissioner Rass knows, working with T-Dot is a deliberate process, and all of that, when I say all of that, your utilities have to align with the proposed road widening, and that is the challenge. And like I said, it's deliberate. I was told utility relocation is anywhere between 12 to 18 months. So that was a couple of months ago. So we're still working. That pace has been deliberate, dealing with other utilities in the area and TDOT. But the city has submitted what we'd like to do to TDOT. And like I said, we're just waiting on other utilities to work around our plan.
Okay, so is the timing with TDOT and the timing with this project coinciding for sewer?
I would say yes.
Okay, thank you.
Potentially, yes.
Oh, I got a couple questions. And I think that kind of spoke to this a little bit, or last time that we saw it here. Hands down, my biggest right there is the traffic, ingress, egress, into this lot. And we have 200 something children that are going to do it on a daily basis. So it makes me look closer at it. So we're going to bring them in 2 different times of the day. No excel, no decel, no turning lanes out there on Lebanon Road. We know that they'll be there one day. We hope, we believe, but that doesn't change the fact that we're going to have to 10 plus years before that probably comes to fruition, would be my guess at best. I would say, if I'm a guessing man, I'm going to say that Lebanon Road to 109 from Bender's Ferry is more like 15. Please.
To clarify, this development did submit a traffic impact study that recommends a left turn lane in, and they also recommended a right turn, which is actually required by code as a non-residential driveway off an arterial with a posted speed limit of 45 miles per hour. The problem with those goes back to TDOT. It's their road, and the potential, particularly with the left turn lane, could be in conflict with their plans for a turn lane at the elementary school, because if we add the left turn lane, we're pushing that road to the north, but they might need it to push south a little bit to get their turn lane in, which is why there's
a catch-22.
There's a lot of ambiguous language in these conditions surrounding the TDOT, because we really just need to get the development team in a room with TDOT, find out schedule and scope for all of those projects before we can design with the developer the appropriate turn lanes for this.
Right. And I guess looking at this entrance, which I love the wide entrance, love the big entrance, love the radiuses that it and everything is there. I think it's over the top, especially for something like this. And we just saw a convenience store that's going to have a heck of a lot more traffic with a heck of a lot smaller entrance onto Lebanon Road as well. And yet this one appears significantly wider. So with that, a couple of things. It looks like there's a potential design for connectivity to the east. No thought in giving connectivity, trying to make these parcels as they do develop through there, with the potential for connectivity to limit our access points up onto Lebanon Road. Are we giving any consideration to something like that?
That's in the code.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
How would they connect to the west? I see how they could do it to the east, but how would they potentially come into the west?
I this is going to be a first for me where I'm going to argue against connectivity.
Yeah.
If this was any other land use, it would be required.
Yeah.
I don't know if I necessarily want to open up this site with it being a daycare to have cross access easements, to have additional traffic coming through their site.
Yeah.
I like where your head's at. I'm always going to tell everyone they need to connect to other sites, but when you have young children involved on the site, parents picking up and walking to designated parking spots instead of picking up directly in front of the site, I would recommend that this parcel stay isolated.
Yeah. And you know, I try to always look at things as, you know, what we're getting proposed here versus what they're going to be when they close down and they change use. Unfortunately, I don't think there's many daycares closing down these days because there's such a lack of quality daycare, particularly in our community. I mean, it's certainly needed. We got a bunch of great ones, but you know, all the great ones packed. So it's tough to do at the same time. I couldn't agree more. Do we have all of it looks like they've got it set back, so we're kind of planned for the potential widening right there. We have the right of way already dedicated as part of this condition here, so we're not going to have to get into trying to obtain right of way when 70 is or Lebanon Road is widened right through there. Do we have that right of way dedicated in here?
We can have that as a condition prior to construction plan approval. That they can do
Dedication
that
of the right of way.
by
So we
instrument.
need to
Yes.
add that comment.
Well, it is shown as a dedication on their plan. That's why the sidewalk is so far off the
Shows
roadway.
it, but is it dedicated? Are they giving it to us?
They'll have to do it by instrument.
You get into some
They can show it on.
interesting issues.
I don't think
Dealing
it's
with
specifically.
And they're not abiding into the traffic study either.
I don't know if it would be
Yeah.
helpful to add.
Name and address for the record.
Connor Gilbert, TTL, Civil Site Engineers for the project. It may be helpful to add that we're actively communicating with TDOT, West Wilson Utility District, the utility relocates. Those right-of-way takes were from TDOT plans. We're doing everything we can in our power to currently coordinate with them and make sure that the phasing, I know that the timing is going to be a little weird, but we are doing our best to make sure that access points, widths, and deceleration lanes are all going to be provided.
Yeah, this is about as tough as that one that we just looked at right before.
Yeah. I saw a lot of
it makes sense.
similarities.
It makes sense, and then there's things that just you scratch your head a little bit on it. When you look at your individual uses right there, when you get down and you develop right there, I see your stream buffer on the south side of the property. And at this point in time, it looks like the lot to your east is more of a flag lot than a straight line lot. Unfortunately, I can't see how that lot to your east is platted right there, but it's currently a residential use right now. So we're going to put a playground and a building in these people's front door that live right there. How much of that, I'm looking at the aerial right now on my phone, on Google Maps. How far are you going to get into the wood line on the south line of your property? Because I can see Silver Springs Branch, the words for it right there, but because of the tree line, you can't really tell how it meanders. I can see how it follows the southerly portion of your property, but you're going to put 200 kids on a playground right at somebody's front door, right there too. So something we got to be conscious of here.
Absolutely.
How much of that tree line, because you can't really scale and you can't really see here, is going to maintain, because these people's driveway are coming right there across this as well. How much of that will maintain, or are you not going to disturb to kind of preserve that as a per se buffer?
So we do intend to maintain as much of that existing vegetation as possible. We went about the surveyed apparent tree line, and that about matched up with the buffer of the stream. So establishing that fence line for the playgrounds in the rear, they do sit, give or take, along the existing tree line. And our landscaping plan, of course, is also accounting for that in a good portion of our buffer. Any improvements that need to be made to that, I'm sure that we're willing to work with.
helps too. That little bridge that you note on the southwest on that adjacent property, that's where the stream crosses. That's just a bridge only for that person's property adjacent to you right there.
I can't speak to as who that bridge was dedicated for. But that
It's probably just a
it's
single-
covered now.
yeah, it's
It's
probably
not
just-
it's not currently accessible due to the vegetation. But
You
we
guys
intend to
can't
retain
see
it.
it without going down somebody else's driveway.
Yeah.
Looks like the Martinez family. There it is right there. Pretty far back. I guess my only other comment would just be, especially since it's a drop off, just a maybe a centralized crosswalk, painted crosswalk at the front entrance, if that's how you guys are dropping off versus that.
Mhm.
Just kind of dedicate that. Maybe even a raised crosswalk right there would be well. Keep your traffic toned down a
Speed
little
table
bit.
kind
Yeah.
of sort. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we have a parallel central island.
Yeah,
That you
yeah,
connect
yeah,
to.
it's right there
I
at
believe
your front door.
The current intent, and this is brand standard, we've kind of been working with Children Lighthouse as a company to make sure that we're providing everything that they like to see.
It's a good looking building.
Huh?
It's a good looking building too. Yeah.
But the intent is for the majority of those parking spaces that sit along the retaining wall to be dedicated as employee parking spaces. You're going to have some accessory spaces down there to the south, but most of the drop off is actually going to be just right there against the building so that they hop out the vehicle onto the sidewalk and into the building.
You got it.
But, of course, we could look into options of providing some kind of raised and or just painted crosswalk to ensure, safe access.
Commissioner Rass? Thank you.
Hey, Connor, I had the luxury of working with Connor and Barry for quite a few years at TTL. So one of the questions I've got is I don't remember seeing this in TDOT's 10-year plan. Maybe Shane, you can answer this too. But I don't think Lebanon Road is in their 10-year plan, or have you heard something different lately?
You are correct. Widening Lebanon Road fully is not in their 10-year plan. I believe the project at the school is more of a emergency need based off the conditions that you all have observed out at that school. So that's not going to extend for any significant stretch.
Right.
The last I had heard, they were starting right-of-way acquisitions soon, but I don't currently know where that project stands. We need to coordinate with TDOT on that.
And that matches up with what Stanley Sumner's.
Okay.
Whenever we've been talking with him, that the safety plan for the center turn lane, that's currently in their 10 years plan, but the widening itself is not.
Yeah.
Now the other thing that comes with that is where does that lie with the right of way takes? But we are staying current with plans, staying in touch with them. This is kind of just the next thing to keep the process moving.
Okay.
It's crazy enough. One of the things I'm thinking that as it is right now, stopping the traffic as it does during school actually helps this plan because it makes it easier if you're eastbound, makes it easier to make your left turn in because traffic is queued up in front of this property at the core time. So again, a unique catch-22. Then if you improve in front of the school, does it then make it unsafe to get in? Different.
Yeah.
Different.
Okay.
Further questions or comments from the commission?
My comment was just, you kind of addressed it in engineering department number 5. Like last time this was up here, it was just more so the sewer, with my knowledge of DHS and knowing that you needed sewer to get this thing done. That was my only concern last time.
Very well. Thank you.
All right, thank y'all.
Let's go ahead and call for citizen comments. Any citizens wishing to make comment are welcome to encourage to do so. Come to the microphone and state your name and address for the record. Seeing no citizen comments this time, I'd like to ask for a motion in regards to this item on our agenda.
Make a motion to approve with the conditions as stated.
May I add the addition of a raised crosswalk at the entrance,
Yes.
please? Second, Stan? It's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye. Against? Abstentions? So approved. I am looking for a motion to adjourn. Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Abstentions? We are adjourned.